to build capacity of Kenyans as the country industrializes. The government has identified technical vocational education training institutions and polytechnics as being key in the country's industrialization journey.
Because TVET is life. Everything from the chair, from the table you are looking at, the coat I'm wearing, the window, the painting, the building, the floor, is all TVET, isn't it? So why are we looking for things, complicated things?
And as such, 28.3 billion shillings has been allocated to TVET institutions in the current budget to, among others, build the needed technical skills.
That part of our industrial revolution will be done by the TVET. If you go to a place like Germany, you will be surprised that 70% of the people every year go to TVET.
Dr. Mukwana is challenging technical institutions to work with other stakeholders in commercializing valuable innovations and research. The new funding model in TVET institutions is expected to foster equity and access to the TVET courses by all learners. Dr. Mkwana says the government is establishing a fund to provide startup capital to small-scale traders and youth under the program dubbed Viwanda Mashinani.
Need to do short courses, practical courses. We want this place to be vibrant, to mentor the people that want to do manufacturing.
Now, how does fuel powering your gadget and machines reach you? Well, our reporter Trevor Ngando followed the petroleum products pipeline transportation network covering 1,342 kilometers from Mombasa through Nairobi, Nakuru and Eldoret all the way to Kisumu. He files the following report.
It takes a sophisticated infrastructure and several key steps to receive fuel from vessels. The process begins with the arrival of a vessel carrying fuel products at the new Kipevu Oil Terminal, an offshore facility capable of accommodating 3 ships concurrently. With a total capacity of 4,500 cubic meters, it takes at least 30 hours to unload a single vessel, utilizing specialized equipment and pipelines for the smooth transfer of the fuel to large capacity tanks designed to hold up to 326 million liters of super petrol, diesel and jet fuel, with a dedicated channel to Moi International Airport, boasting a 7 million liter storage capacity. Before initiating the transportation process, rigorous quality control checks are done to ensure the fuel meets local standards. The process of oil transportation begins here at pump station number 1 with this line 5 carrying 3 products, that is petrol, diesel and kerosene, going underground for 450 kilometers to Nairobi under high pressure. It takes an average of 4 days for the products to arrive in Nairobi at a capacity of 86 million liters of oils. Diesel, also known as AGO, is loaded first, followed by DPK containing Jet A1 and kerosene components, followed by diesel as a buffer, before MSP, also known as super petrol, is loaded onto a single 20-inch pipe operating under high pressure to prevent mixing and facilitate the efficient and rapid transfer of large volumes of fuel over the 450-kilometer distance between Mombasa and Nairobi. Through the transportation process, several pump stations, each with 2 remotely controlled parallel pumps, boost the pressure. The pipeline is monitored using technology capable of detecting any deviations and anomalies in the flow pressure for prompt action. In Nairobi, Jet A1 is directed to JKI loading depot to serve the airport and Wilson Airport. When the fuel is pumped to Nairobi, it is directed to these storage facilities, which is then piped to the Nakuru loading depot. Here, oil marketers load their trucks and distribute to local and regional markets. The line continues until Sinindet, where the distribution line branches into 2, with Line 2 spanning 325 kilometers to Eldoret and Line 3 spanning 121 kilometers to Kisumu, culminating the 1,342-kilometer-long pipeline. And from Mombasa to Kisumu, this now serves as the endpoint distribution hub for the Kenya Pipeline Company, where, unlike in Mombasa, where it's offloaded from vessels, here it's loaded onto a vessel once a week with a carrying capacity of 4.5 million liters, which is equivalent to 150 trucks on the road, with the destination being Uganda to go and serve the rest of the region. Trevor Ngende for KBC Channel 1 in Kisumu County.
Well, then now you know how you get that particular fuel, or rather petroleum product. And also you can check out our website, that is www.kbc.co.ke, in a world where we have moved to AI. I don't know how many of you have already tried AI, especially when it comes to creating those very nice photos of yourself on social media. Well, the question is, will chat boxes also make lawyers obsolete? There's a particular story there of quite the interest there, being that Wakili AI is the latest entrant into this particular space. Our website, www.kbc.co.ke, has more details on that, a story done by our very own Alan Aoko. Now let's cross over to sports, where Cabinet Secretary for Sports Ababu Namwamba says the government will continue to forge close partnerships with county governments to improve the state of sports facilities in the country. These corporations will ensure that the ministry achieves its goal to develop as well as upgrade the status of various sporting facilities in the country.
Cabinet Secretary for Sports Ababu Namwamba was today in Marsabit inspecting the Marsabit Stadium. The inspection of the stadium in Marsabit County came just days after yet another inspection of the Moi Stadium in Kisumu.
We say you get what you inspect, not what you invest. If you invest and you do not inspect, you're very likely to get substandard results.
While on the inspection, Cabinet Secretary Ababu said the government will continue to work with the county government to improve the state of sports facilities in Kenya.
Stadium hii ya Marsabit, ama uga huu wa Marsabit, ni mojawapo wa viwanja 7 ambavyo vilianzishwa na vikakwama bila kukamilishwa sehemu mbalimbali za taifa letu. When we came to office as a new administration with a fresh agenda for Kenya, a good vision for this country, we made a quick decision that we don't want to continue the habit of starting things and not finishing them. Tunaanzisha kitu kinanyonya mali ya umma alafu hakikamiliki. We said we must end that.
CS Ababu assured that upgrading works will commence immediately and the renovations will be done in 2 phases, with the first phase being the completion of terraces, improvement of the playing turf, completion of a car park, as well as the rehabilitation of the VIP pavilion.
This very, very important project, which has been started and co-funded by both the national government and the county government, needs to be completed. And because of the visionary leadership of this government, you found it fit to come and assess it yourself firsthand. This, we are indeed very, very grateful.
The second phase of the renovation will include the laying of canopy all round the stadium and installation of seats.
Marsabit Stadium, and in the words of CS Sports, that is Ababu Namwamba, you get what you inspect and not invest in. I'm Regina Manyari. You've been watching in the headlines. There's so much lined up for you this morning on KBC Channel 1 as you watch Good Morning Kenya, including candid conversations in regard where we are as a country as far as matters of cost of living are concerned, as well as political dynamics. Given that we are yet to find out if the first ever Meru female governor, Kawira Mungaza, is going to survive her impeachment that is currently underway as far as public participation is concerned. I'm Regina Manyara. Have a pleasant viewing ahead.
tunapowasha vifaa vyetu, tunapata fursa ya kutangamana na wasikilizaji wetu.
Karibu sana thĩinĩ wa tabarĩra ya Rwiga.
Tunapeperusha utangazaji uliobobea katika habari,
nĩ ũndũ wa macio na mangĩ maingĩ,
burudani,
haha nĩ harĩa tũkoragwo tũkĩigua nyĩmbo mwaki nyĩmbo hoda
na hamasisho la kiroho. Usiachwe nyuma, jiunge nasi kwa safari ya kufana katika 99.5 FM. Shoro FM.
Is guaranteed.
Bounce, hop, skip your enemy there. Sing your one from left to right, you know the saga man there. I could no man with the one of them are immediate. Remember, could no man from here can bring the rap into the state. Remember,
Big, car big, house big, big.
We no worry. We sing for the girl.
He has forgiven me and he wants things to work between us. That's because he loves me.
And you? Do you also love him? If anything happens to my sister or me, that statement is going to be delivered to the proper authorities.
It's about time you understood that not everyone you deal with will do your bidding.
Olga.
Get out! You'll have enough time to comply with the reforms needed at the public clinic.
No.
There it is. This is impossible.
You want to see your son. That's what you have to do.
1 year in office, 23 ministries. Time to review the journey in implementing the bottom-up economic transformation agenda. What is your assessment of the government's performance? Will they ace the performance test? Tune in to KBC News at 9 p.m. for the government scorecard.
Welcome back to the program. My name is Mike Megwi. This is People and Politics, and in studio I'm joined by Joseph Mathai, who is a governance expert. And let's go right into the papers. On the first page of Daily Nation, why CJ wants life sentence scrapped. And now the judiciary has tabled 2 bills in the National Assembly that proposes sweeping changes to the Penal Code and the Criminal Procedure Code, including readjustment of sentences for the murder and robbery to ensure proportionate punishment, and the abolishment of life sentences, which will be replaced with a maximum sentence of 30 years. Of course, that story you will get it on the page on page 4 of Daily Nation. Bwana Mathai, do I know your thoughts about this move by the CJ?
Of course, we are also members of international community. Yes. As a country. We have to be, at equal with what is happening across the board in other jurisdictions. Mm-hmm. And I think when I listen to all this, I think we are just going towards the direction where other countries are. Mm-hmm. And of course, like in this country, we still have like the capital punishment, yes, but it has been almost overtaken by events. Yes. So I think it's all good. Yes. I think nobody should lead that it is about lessening the burden. It's just because most people don't commit crimes when they are 0 years. Yes. They are at a certain level, and 30 years of maturity, in terms of punishment, I think is something very adequate.
All right. Another story on the Daily Nation, page 5 of Daily Nation, is UDA kicks Sakaja allies out of key assembly posts in the assembly. The ruling party accused the officials of failing to unite its members. The ruling party UDA yesterday kicked out minority leaders at the Nairobi County Assembly, most of whom are close allies of Governor Johnson Sakaja. The officials are accused of failing to unite members, and in a statement to the Assembly, Speaker Ken Ngodi, UDA Secretary General Cleophas Malala named Nairobi South MCA Waithera Chege as the new minority leader, replacing Anthony Kirago Karanja of Waithaka Ward. What is happening in the UDA party within Nairobi? What's going on?
I think we can, politics,
yes.
Political parties have very dynamic nature, in themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you can ask what is happening in parties, because if you look at all the parties, maybe they haven't made it to the headlines.
Mm-hmm.
There's always changes because there's always that fleeting change of interests. And you see, especially the leadership in the houses or in the assembly for members.
Mm-hmm.
I think when I looked at what, they are raising issues of, representing the welfare of members.
Yeah.
So you can see these are leaders who are elected by the MCAs themselves. And other than now the association with the governor and such things, I think that purely is an issue of the House. And remember, there is always negotiations about budget, about welfare, and if these MCAs feel that the leadership they have at the moment is not representing them, in the best interests, I'm sure the Secretary General has no choice but to ratify the needs of those people. Remember, this is Nairobi County.
Yes.
Kajiado may be feeling differently because, again, I think you cannot deny people that particular freedom to choose who represents them.
Yes.
Because it's a whole issue about maybe even the agenda of the party. And I think now as we listen more, we'll look at the new leadership and see if they are going to do things differently.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
All right. More pain at the pump looms if the new levy gets a nod. The Kenya Roads Board is seeking to increase the road maintenance levy by 5 shillings to cater for inflation, the cost of road construction materials. More pain at the pump. That means Kenyans are bound to pay. They are going to feel the pinch, especially when it comes, because when we talk about more pain at the pump, Kenyans, the first thing that comes into the minds of Kenyans, high cost of living. Why? How do we address this?
What? This is very dicey, if I would say.
Yeah.
Because one, we need good roads.
Yes.
Already, when you say more pain, it means already there is pain.
Yes.
But then again, you look at the factors. I think even factors like what is happening in the war in Israel currently will still or may still add more pain.
Yes.
And I think now for particularly that particular 5, you said 5 up?
Yes.
For roads.
For roads,
because of
for roads.
Yeah, because of to cater for the depreciations and everything. And I think that one we can take. Because again, repairing a shock could be more expensive than that extra 1 shilling on the liter.
Yes.
But I think if you do not look at the particular intention of that increment, surely this fuel issue has a serious impact on the cost of living. And other than, being aware of the environment where we are in, the global pressure on the price of oil and everything. So I think we just hope because that then on the benefits of what that money will do, that there will be some bit of balance. Yeah.
Another story that is making the headlines on the Daily Nation. Squatters on Kirema's city land given up to December 31st to leave or face bulldozers. That story is told on page 12 of the Daily Nation. And the hundreds of squatters who settled on the 1,000 acres parcel of land in Nairobi's Njiro area belonging to the family of former Starehe MP Gershon Kirema may have up to December to leave or force eviction. Now, if you consider this story and what is happening in Mavoko, the question that comes to mind is, what do people do due diligence when they are buying land, especially in urban areas? Do they do due diligence, ascertaining that this land does not have cases, belongs to this person I'm buying from? Do we do that? What are views on that?
I think you should have asked the question whether they know. Do they know?
Yes.
The steps that you need to take, the documents, the different levels of due diligence you're speaking about. Remember, this story of people just being told Muradi and they go and build without caring, while they are so careful about the logbooks of their car, which doesn't cost as much as a house, that it will tell you that there is a lot of awareness that needs to be done.
Yes.
Because every person's aspirations is to own a home, especially here in the city.
Especially because paying rent is
very expensive. And so then, I think if you look historically from 2002, when some people had to be cleared from a very high profile, very high-end, Kitsuru to pave a road that would benefit many people. That happened with that government of Mwai Kibaki. Then, of course, there was land near the airport when we were about to get accreditation to fly to America direct, and the people had just built up to the wall. And when you ask them, what documents do you hold? Nothing. Land building company or whatever. I think then that brings a whole debate about fraud, as I said earlier, and the steps that you need. And also, I think government must now think about how to protect their people.
Which also brings the question, why wait until people build, then demolish their houses?
But you see here, that's what I'm bringing here, that now must be forestalled. And I think it begins by the institutions that own land, or people who own land. Or we find a way that can forestall this before things go too far. Because again, now you find it is demolition or regularization. But I think these must speak to Kenyans that land issue, especially acquisition of land, you must begin with, first of all, doing a search, know whether that person who is telling you they own this land and they want to sell it to you, whether they are the legitimate owner. Then you must involve a lawyer, where there must be an agreement. And number two, you must go to a board until you get your own title deed. But what we have heard from those two cases is that even those buildings have not been approved. And you see the gullibility of Kenyans, that you can even put a full billboard and warn Kenyans, buyer beware. A governor writes even a letter and invites agencies like EACC and everything. And then people just go ahead. There is a degree of impunity on the people themselves, and ignoring every other thing. But I think your question is, why allow people to go all that far?
Until they build, then you start coming to...
And I think that must be addressed. We must find a way. And there's a way Kenyans debate things. And now, with this ruling of recent about the Njiro Kirima land, it can tell you, I think now we need almost an inquiry of what is happening across the country, so that, again, we protect the
Because
Kenyan.
People have invested money. People have invested money in those buildings,
Yes.
and they want to get away from the. They want to have a good life.
Yes.
Which is why they're investing in these lands and building houses, only for them to get demolished later. So I think that is something that needs to be addressed as fast as possible, because people are buying land every day. But the problem is, do they know the process, as you have said? Do they do due diligence? Those two things are very crucial to the aspect of buying land, especially in urban areas.
You're right.
Let's look at the Daily Nation, the Standard, sorry. Murderers to get lighter sentences. This is according to the Standard, and there are radical proposals by the Chief Justice Martha Koome, who is asking MPs to change the penal code, hence making punishment for capital offense less severe in light of global conventions, just like you have said. Now, another story here on the Standard, page 4 of the Standard. The cost of living is now on the agenda of the National Dialogue Team's talks. The committee exploring what constitutes immediate, medium, and long-term solutions. The team has agreed on a number of issues, including auditing of elections. The issue of cost of living, it's very, I'd say it's very dear to Kenyans, because it's affecting their daily livelihoods. It's affecting how they are living. And the team, the committee, the National Dialogue Committee, this was not in the Kenya Kwanza faction had said this will not be among the issues they talk about during their talks. Now the Azimio leaders now threatened to walk out of the talks. But now, what do you think will be the outcome of this?
I think,
as far as cost of living is concerned.
You see, I think would rather all be on the table.
Yes.
Like you said, this is an issue that unites the whole country.
Yes.
Actually, when you go back to the campaigns,
yes,
it was again at the core,
yes,
of the promises that were made. But then you'd rather have everyone on the table than people just blaming from outside. Because again, you know, in politics, people will just misrepresent issues.
Yes.
And on the same note, we have to allow the government that was voted in by the people of Kenya to also implement its own manifesto. But now, on specific proposals, I think now the opposition can now table specific proposals that will address the cost of living other than blame game. And I think now this will bring temperatures down. Because in politics, you have to work with a bit of compromise,
yes,
a bit of consultation,
yes,
a bit of, crossing the ranks. Because again, I think all leaders represent
yes,
the interest of Kenyans.
Yes.
So I think now we should wait and see what comes out of it. But you see, the government has not stopped,
yes,
from addressing the whole issue, because they are the people with the mandate to be able to continue to serve Kenyans. And I think when you speak the cost of living, I have listened to the president, and he has been very categorical that we are going to, especially on food, focus on production. A time like this is also a time to tell people, and I'm happy that there is no sufuria on the streets, that people could just go to the farms and see if they can also address the issue of food production and the whole issue about fertilizer, and farming, and trying to see if we can, first of all, even before we address fuel, that we have been able to satisfy our basic, needs in terms of food.
The common mwananchi, when we talk about the cost of living, the common mwananchi would ask, why then are you taxing us? Why with the taxation? It's too much.
I think the other question is that what are you doing with our money?
Yes.
And I think we have seen a revamped, health insurance fund that now has been signed into law. We have seen the justification about the housing fund and, in terms of creation of jobs for our young people, a bubble that should be able to scare everyone if those people are not taken care of. And then again, the benefit of affordable housing. And the president saying that he will take the bullet, literally, if any of those funds is misappropriated. Then at that point, we can carry the burden, knowing that when you go to schools, there is capitation in primary, there's capitation in secondary school, and people are not paying as much. When you go to your dispensary, you're going to find a medic and medicine, and you're going to move on good roads. I think as a country, we must bear that. But then again, you remember, stabilizing this economy, just not many months ago, there was almost a debt stress in this country. When we were just looking into almost defaulting as a country, our international commitments. I think this regime, this government has been able to do that. And where is that money going to come from? That money is going to come from us. So for me, since if you look at how these taxes become, how the taxes are formalized, it is our people, the people we send to parliament, who must formalize this until the president is able to append the signature and they become law. And there is a lot of public participation. Memorandums are written, and I think the most robust debate was about the finance bill, which even went up to, I think, Supreme. And the president was given a go-ahead. Because you see, I don't think there's any regime that would want to fall, to antagonize Kenyans and not be favored. But again, if you have a plan, about what you want to do, I think, and then Kenyans look at you and say, I think our money is being put into good use, they are going to support you. So I think that is where we should be looking at in terms of accountability, in terms of cutting of, what we have been hearing about, wastage in government, about, unnecessary expenditure like
the president
trips.
was very vocal
and I have
about
seen, I've seen circulars in the press about curbing of even delegations that can go to places with the president, with the members of the cabinet. And I think now if we get into that path of austerity, we become frugal as a country. And maybe 1 year down the line, people are able to see that you can have dialysis done at your local hospital. You can have cancer, detected at your local hospital, without traveling to Kenyatta, like what was happening previously. And this also now puts in the county government, because everyone who has been elected and is in office has been put there just to make sure that the life of Kenyans is, good, and the country is developing, and the whole environment of making our country secure. We have had challenges, the attracting foreign direct investors. So I think that is where my focus would be, that Kenyans now must be more vigilant in terms of how their taxes are being used. So that then, maybe 1 year down the line, we can look back and say, now the burden is lessening because of the sacrifices we made here and there.
Right. There's a story on... there's a story... Okay. The story on page 5 of the Standard, talking about state evicts Masai Mau forest encroachers as city resettles others. The settlers in Narok North constituency were rendered homeless following the second week of evictions. We take a short break. We'll be right back.
tunapowasha vifaa vyetu, tunapata fursa ya kutangamana na wasikilizaji wetu.
Karibu sana thĩinĩ wa tabarĩra ya Rwiga.
Tunapeperusha utangazaji ulobobea katika habari,
Nĩ ũndũ wa macio na mangĩ maingĩ,
burudani,
Nĩ harĩa tũkoragwo tũkĩigua nyĩmbo mwaki nyĩmbo hot,
na hamasisho la kiroho. Usiachwe nyuma. Jiunge nasi kwa safari ya kufana katika 99.5 FM. Shoro FM.
Welcome back. We continue with our what is happening in the headlines, and right now I want us to take a look at on the first page of the Star. Why newborn deaths spiral out of control. This story is continued on page 4. Is told in detail on page 4 of the Star. Why newborn deaths still high despite state efforts. A new report has discredited the efficiency of government programs and billions pumped into initiatives to curb maternal and neonatal death. The report by Auditor General Nancy Gathungu follows the fresh launch of universal health care coverage by President by President William Ruto. Ruto relaunched universal health care, which among others seek to dramatically reduce maternal and child deaths. What's your views on this story, Bwana Mathai?
I think there's a time we had almost what you can call a hiatus on the community health workers.
Yes.
And these are the people who are like Nyumba Kumi. They identify, challenges, health challenges, including maternal health, and are able to refer to make sure that the women are going for prenatal and all that. And I was all smiles when I saw in Kericho, the return of the health workers,
yes,
who are going to be now almost formally embedded in the health infrastructure at the county levels. Because remember, everything is awareness. People, you might have all those programs and facilities at the hospital, but if people are not aware, they are not going to go to clinics, and that can seriously contribute to that.
Yes.
I think that issue again can just be related to issues of those agricultural extension officers.
Yes.
People are just going to farm traditionally until you come and tell them how to do, because of the advance in technology and new ways of doing things.
Yes.
So I hope part of, and I'm sure, part of all that work for the health, those community health workers, and I think the president was very, eloquent on that, was to make sure that we do not reach at the level of treatment.
Yes.
It is about, what we would call now the primary health itself,
yes,
about lifestyle, about diet, about all that, and accessing healthcare before
it's too late.
It's too late.
Yes.
So I think then with that, we should be able to see an improvement.
Yes.
And I think, again, it will involve issues of immunization, because you see it's people just knowing that at these 2 weeks you need to do this, at 4 weeks you need to do this, or 4 months. So I think we should be able to read a different story when this is now freshed out in the entire country.
All right. Another story on the Star. Man is still missing a month after his abduction in Lamu. That you can read that story on page 3 of the Star. Then Ruto and Raila teams to retreat to hammer out a deal, and Kalonzo appeals for good faith during the period. The National Dialogue Committee, charged with midwifing talks between President William Ruto and Azimio leader Raila Odinga, have retreated to Nakuru for a week-long negotiation on the sticky issues. The committee is co-chaired by National Assembly Majority Leader Kimani Ichung'wah and former Vice President Kalonzo Musyoka. Another story going on in the Star newspaper is how the new intersex bill could trigger fresh LGBTQ debate. The Criminal Procedure Code Amendment Bill 2023 is raising new concern over inclusivity role. Azimio vows to paralyze the parliament over minority whip changes delay. The delay in changing the minority leadership, largely blamed on inaction by House Speaker Moses Wetangula, is expected to trigger a political storm as MPs resume sittings today. Opposition MPs are already breathing fire and have pledged to scuttle House business during afternoon session. They want Wetangula to announce Embakasi West MP Mark Mwenje as the deputy minority whip, who is supposed to replace MP Sabina Chege. This has been going on for some time. What will come out of this?
Okay, I think first of all, this is an issue again, like what is happening at the county assembly of Nairobi. It's an Azimio matter, and I think now answering your question, what will come out of it? I think democracy will be more strengthened because, people have a right to resort to seek, legal redress when they think their rights have been infringed. I've been following the whole issue about, Jubilee and its membership and its leadership and all the arguments. But I think now we are at the level where the court has pronounced itself, and the speaker had asked for time, you don't serve the speaker through the media. Like now, I come here and announce that the court ruled, so you should rule like this. And I think what will happen is that that institution called Parliament is a place of order and procedures and rules, and I think they will survive. But now the whole issue about paralyzing or not paralyzing, these are things that are used in politics to attain a certain end. I'm sure the other side also has a way of countering that. But I think at the end of the day, in this country, when you compare us with our neighbors, I think Kenya is like 30 years ahead, in terms of democracy and our freedoms. This will not happen in any one of countries that is around us, even if you look at the whole political environment. So when I see things like this, I don't get depressed. I'm happy because at the end of the day, we are going to have precedents that will guide this kind of a scenario in future. But I think you should not wake up and just say that now, Mike, you have to get out of this. I can say, oh, no, I think you have not come in the right way. I go and look for legal redress. Yeah. But I think it's purely a coalition matter, and a solution will be found, and democracy will be enriched.
Right. One more story on the Star newspaper. Thousands of health workers to take mandatory IT courses. IT specialists demand PAC, saying they are part of the healthcare delivery. You can read that story in details on the 10th page of the Star newspaper. Let's now look at the People Daily. Late by election, voters sues IBC. The electoral petitioner wants court to order selection team to name new officials who can conduct poll to replace dead MP, as CEO Marjan says staff cannot move or change boundaries without commissioners. That story is continued on page 4 of the People Daily. And if I can get into detail, the absence of commissioners has left the electoral agency unable to execute its mandate according to law. Operations of the IEBC have been paralyzed and the agency left irrelevant due to the absence of commissioners since January after Chairman Wafula Chebukati and 6 commissioners left at different points. Bwana Mathai, when does the IEBC, how can IEBC commission be made functional as at now? Because they do not have a chairman, they do not have commissioners.
I think when you think about where we are currently,
yes,
I think it is one of the things that must be addressed by this dialogue committee. Because, you know, the president had already appointed a select committee. And it is now like we are in a situation because we cannot have those by-elections. And because basically the commissioners have to be the one, you know, overseeing this. It is very clear.
Yeah.
But I think now as a country, we are also alive at where we are as a country.
Yes.
And I think with a bit of time and if I've heard you right, the team is retreating to just come up with you know, some recommendation. And I think in that area is just either to reconstitute the selection panel and have the IEBC properly constituted. Because we've seen, I'm also an Africa elections observer, and elections are hot.
Very hot, especially in Africa.
In Africa.
Yes.
And I think that is an issue that Kenyans are looking at, so that then we still have an IBC reconstituted that will have the full trust of Kenyans, that it will deliver the by-elections and the next election. And I think then it's just about giving time to the committee. But I think we have positions that are vacant, and you know the law is very clear. If upon, you know, writ issued by Parliament, I think in 90 days you are supposed to have, you know, an election. Because the people of that particular area, whether it's a ward or a constituency, have a right to be represented. So I think then this is a reminder that this is a process that must be fast-tracked, so that then we can, everyone's right is protected. But again, like I said, we are in a, you know, in a special, you know, special time. Because of our history, where we have come from. And I think it was magnanimous of Kenya Kwanza itself to say now, okay, we had appointed this selection committee. First of all, just chill. And so that then everyone feels that they have a voice on that table.
There's an interesting story on the third page 3 of the People Daily, and it concerns something we talked about, cost of living. 49% of Kenyans are not happy with their financial situation. Are you happy with your financial situation?
You know, happiness can be rated from 0 to 10. Maybe I'm not at 10, and those 49% are not at 10%. But I think what would break Kenyans' heart is if there was no deliberate efforts, you know, to get out of this. And we know it's not a switch somewhere that anyone will come and just say off or on. These are steps that we are all in it. We must do our part. We must learn from our, you know, past mistakes. And I think without having to go back, because people are, I'm saying they are just being promised. But I think there's so much doing that is happening. But and the results are being, sectoral. This sector, some sectors are already now realizing, a lot of, progress towards getting out of that morass. You cannot say that Kenyans are not right when they say they are not happy. But I am happy that it is now almost 50-50. If you had done this in like 5 months ago, maybe you would have found 79 were not happy. Yes. But now it is now 49%. Yes, maybe now 3 months ago it was 79% were not happy. Only that the research was not done. So I think then in another 3 months we should be able to see how many, are not happy. Yes. Because with the, and I'll go back to saying that, when you produce your own food, it's like printing your own money. So I would add Kenyans to continue taking advantage of the rains, plant food, because that carries the biggest chunk of, the cost of living. Yes, if people have food across the country, I can tell you, not many of us are moving and being affected by the other things. But I think that voice of 49% is what is now informing the government that austerity measures must be taken and deliberate steps to address that particular, sentiment, so that then we have happy Kenyans by the end of the year.
But then again, a person in the village would ask, when do we start seeing positive results? Because we are past 1 year since the Kenya Kwanza government took office.
Yes.
When do we start seeing results? When does it get better? Because even as we are talking about food production, we're also talking about money in the pocket.
Yes.
When do we start seeing positive results?
Yeah, but you see, how do we even measure positive results? I told you, when you find medicine, and that one has been addressed. The streamlining of, KEMSA, the new health insurance scheme that now puts everyone on board. These are not promises. These are things that are now being implemented. And of course, I'm sure you have gone, around the country. The last time I hit a pothole, I mean, it's long. So we must also remove our measure of cost of living from just cost of 1 or 2 items, because the whole thing is holistic. If you have to fundraise for health, there's a time this country, there were 1 million WhatsApp groups just fundraising, for people to access almost what you'd call, basic medical care in this country. But that's not to say that we are not looking at prices of basic commodity and Kenyans expect them to go down. But how does that happen? You see, previously we were just in the other, administration, we were obsessed with the subsidies. And basically subsidies are also financed by taxation, which is almost a zero-sum game. You see, and that's why we're saying now, a bit of burden, then we get out of this.
All right. Another story on page 6 of the People Daily. Oral national exams begin as NEC warns on data sharing. The Examinations Council urges center managers to adhere to exam rules to avoid facing sanctions in the Act. The 2023 KCSE commenced yesterday with the oral papers, even as the National Examining Body warned against sharing of exam papers. The exam started with French, German, Arabic orals, and also Kenya Sign Language practical signing skills, as well as music practicals. Would you talk about a little bit how we prepare for exams? how we prepare for exams every time we are having national exams, because there are times you will hear cases of exam malpractices. How in your own view, how is the situation right now, in your own observation?
First of all, let me start by wishing all the candidates success. It's a very important thing, in our country. All the people who are facing exams. And of course, you know that this is the last class 8 we're going to have. And if, Mike, you can remember where we are coming from as a country. From when the late Professor Makoha took over as the chair of the Kenya National Examinations
Council.
I think we have made tremendous steps. Actually, now holding a certificate from this country holds a lot of water. We have seen, we have, even in the last election, you saw, the debate was around the veracity of certificates. And very serious leaders being put into their defense about the papers they hold. Today, if you're appointed in any place, the first thing you do is submit your papers to EACC. And that is good, so that even as we export our most important resource as a country, which is a human resource, our people are respected out there. And I think nobody would ask for our nurses and police and professionals if then our whole examination process was in question. And what has happened is that it is not the cases that have gone up, it is the whole issue about scrutiny. The council is able to detect, cases of cheating, and we have seen schools and even individual candidates being punished, because again, we're also a country of shortcuts and deals here and there. But I think the gap is narrowing. And I think there was a time even schools would collude, so that then they would appear in the papers and number one. And I think the whole grading issue of school has also stemmed down, the urge to cut corners. So I think we are going to have a clean election. Remember, it's a multi-agency approach, where now the whole security apparatus are involved, and many stakeholders, including the parents and teachers' organization, to make sure that we deliver a clean election, a clean examination, exam for our kids. Because with that, there are so many things, because we are changing into CBC curriculum based, where now the system is supposed now to identify. And I think there was a story like that was run earlier, that the TVETs now must be in a position to address our industrial needs, because from building to roads, it's all TVET. So I think that urge of AAA is leaving, because people in this country, including those kids who are doing exams, have seen people thrive in music, have seen people thrive in arts, have seen people utilize their talents, including just a marathoner dashing out of the country, run and comes back. So I think there's no much pressure. There was too much pressure. And that's why the change of curriculum had to come, so that then people focus on their talents and their interest in terms of what they would want to become and serve this country.
Right. There's a story on page 12 of the People Daily. Senate invites East Africa, the EACC to probe Nyandarua expenditure. A Senate watchdog committee that has directed the Ethics and the Anti-Corruption Commission to pitch tent in Nyandarua County to investigate the questionable expenditure of at least 785 million incurred by the administration. The Senate Public Accounts Committee flagged various financial malpractices at the county government and asked the anti-corruption agency to take a keen interest in the queries raised by the Auditor General Nancy Gathungu to establish fraud, corruption, and other financial improprieties. How do we keep track of county government's expenditure? Because there are cases where some counties have been accused of misappropriating funds.
No, I think it is not only the county, government.
Yes.
It is every or any institution that spends public money, money from your taxes. And that's why we have the Office of the Auditor General. That's why we have now sent it specifically there to look at counties and audit them. Because I think I heard a minister say that if you're investing and not inspecting, then you don't know what you are going to expect.
Yes.
And I think when you find, questionable expenditure, actually that is not that they have been indicted. It's just a flag that has been raised so that then the agencies that are being financed by, again, the taxpayer, the EACC, the DCI, the Office of Auditor General, the PAC, in Parliament, must do their job. And I remember at one point the Senate talking about, getting a bigger budget to enable them to do their function of audit, because that is very important. If there is no malpractice, well and good, we'll know that that particular resource has gone into what is going to improve. I think the people of Nyandarua, I'm not from that particular region, but I know they want good roads for their produce. Remember, that is the bread basket for Nairobi. Yeah. So I think it should go to every institution where now, so that at the end of the day, we know that our taxes are being put into good use, yes, including the national government and its agencies, so that then we begin to adopt, a culture of transparency and, good use of public resources. Yes. They should never go to waste. To waste. Yes. And they don't go to waste. They go to personal, personal benefit, yes, and that should not be the case. Yes. In total, we have about, 900,000 workers, yes, who, on a daily basis, execute, government on behalf of the people of Kenya, both at national, I think national and county, forever, and every shilling must count. If it is for roads, yes, that money must go to roads. So I think that is a very positive step by the Senate, because again, that is why they were elected, and that's why they have a budget to be the eyes of Kenyans, as far as, the counties are concerned.
What if there is a scenario where the EACC was given prosecutorial powers? They do the investigation and then go ahead and prosecute. How would that have turned out in the fight against corruption, in your own view?
I think, we are all guided by the 2010 Constitution. And it was not passed in a room like this. It went to a referendum. And I think Kenyans had, envisioned a situation of checks and balances, and, and I think our courts, we have, anti-corruption courts, courts that just deal with corruption cases. And you see, we can't say that they should be able to do that in a day or two. Or we execute people in Uhuru Park. Because again, the same 2010 Constitution, yes, talks about, due process. People assumed, innocent until they are proven guilty. What maybe we would ask is for the courts to, or rather the judiciary to allocate more resources so that these cases are expedited, in a faster way, so that then justice is served to the people of Kenya, especially where there is malpractice in what you would call public finances. Yeah.
Now there's a story on the back page of the Daily Nation that lobby seeks to hold costly varsity loans and funding plan. The Kenya National Human Rights Commission has filed a case at the High Court seeking to stop the Ministry of Education from implementing the funding of model for higher education, which was unveiled by President William Ruto in May. The suit before the Constitutional Human Rights Division comes as first-year students in universities, technical and vocational training institutions wait for the outcome of the application seeking the government financial support. What do you think of the new funding model for university students?
I think it is revolutionary. And I've looked at the way we react as a country.
Yeah.
Anything new, there's a way we go through stages. We go through stages of rejection. Then I think then we realize, we understand. I listened, there was a serious town hall debate between university dons, parents, and even students.
Yes.
And then, even if we are going to panel beat what we have at the moment, I think we can go back to what I used to access funding, HELP.
Yes.
We can't go back there. HELP was a facility that is as old as many of us when we were in the university in the 90s.
Yes.
And this new funding model addresses the current, scenario, including how, things have changed in terms of, expense, including looping in, kids in private universities and being able to profile, people from very poor backgrounds to, in terms of how eligible you are.
Yes.
I think the debate must continue about how to make this particular facility better. But I think there can never be a return valve because it is something that has been thought through.
Yes.
But I told you, there's a way we deal with new things,
yes,
including CBC.
Yes.
There was a huge debate about why it is not as good as the previous ones.
Yes.
But I think most of these proposals are also modeled around best practices and where the whole world is heading.
Yes. Yeah. Joseph Mathai there speaking to us as we dissect what was in the headlines. My name is Mike Megwe. We take a short break. Good Morning Kenya continues shortly.
Live from broadcast. These are the moments we live for every Friday as we catch up with the world of football.
Manchester City go in front.
With your favorite stars in rivalries like no other that keeps you on the edge of your seat. Learn a few tricks that keep you ahead of the game and spice it all with unforgettable moments on Dunda Dunda. On Saturday, you're in for another treat as we rock your weekend with all sporting disciplines, bringing you insights on what's happening behind the scenes as we share players and athlete stories, preparations, and celebrate their achievements.
Charging to the line. Is it going to be a world record? Yes, it is. She smashed it.
Whatever angle you look at, we've got you covered. KBC Channel 1, your true sports partner. KBC Channel 1 magazine programs strive to disseminate news and information.
Welcome to Happening in the World of Entertainment
and achievements of individuals navigating through life.
Be part of the intelligent conversation. Upper KBC Channel 1.
Related to the interests of Kenyan public on various subjects of national importance.
Wasigaribu tujifunze.
Keeping you up to date with the latest tech news,
challenges, and remarkable stories of individuals with disabilities.
And you have a say.
Our magazine programs empower communities with words for conversations and a common language to approach the world.
For your infotainment needs, we have a great range of programs.
Music can be magical. It's the soul for life and gives immense peace to us. It has a powerful therapeutic effect on the human psyche. Whether secular or gospel. There's a song for everyone, every occasion, and every emotion.
God bless you.
These are the moments we live for every Friday as we catch up with the world of football.
Manchester City go in front.
With your favorite stars in rivalries like no other that keeps you on the edge of your seat. Learn a few tricks that keep you ahead of the game and spice it all with unforgettable moments on Dunda Dunda. On Saturday, you're in for another treat as we rock your weekend with all sporting disciplines, bringing you insights on what's happening behind the scenes as we share players and athlete stories, preparations, and celebrate their achievements.
Charging to the line. Is it going to be a world record? Yes, it is. She smashed it.
Whatever angle you look at, we've got you covered. KBC Channel 1. Your true sports partner. KBC Channel 1 magazine programs strive to disseminate news and information.
Welcome to Happening in the World of Entertainment
and achievements of individuals navigating through life.
Be part of the intelligent conversation. Upper KBC Channel 1.
Related to the interests of Kenyan public on various subjects of national importance.
Wasigaribu tujifunze.
Keeping you up to date with the latest tech news,
challenges, and remarkable stories of individuals with disabilities.
And you have a say.
Our magazine programs empower communities with words for conversations and a common language to approach the world.
For your infotainment needs, we have a great range of programs.
Music can be magical. It's the soul for life and gives immense peace to us. It has a powerful therapeutic effect on the human side. Whether secular or gospel, there's a song for everyone, every occasion, and every emotion.
God bless you.
1 year in office, 23 ministries. Time to review the journey in implementing the bottom-up economic transformation agenda. What is your assessment of the government's performance? Will they ace the performance test? Tune in to KBC News at 9 p.m. for the government scorecard.
Of confidence. What if you lose your confidence? And have you ever wondered how people who have discolored teeth feel? Dr. Lucy Wamboi will be showing us how to use herbal medicine to clean brown teeth.
Good oral health plays a key role in our lives as it enhances our ability to socialize with other people and even increases our productivity at work. And this entails more than just brushing and flossing our teeth. According to the 2022 Global Oral Health Status Report released by the World Health Organization WHO, close to 3.5 billion people were estimated to be affected by oral diseases worldwide. Despite the technological advancement in the medical field, Lucy Wamboi, who is the owner of Menosafi Clinic, still embraces the use of herbs for cleaning discolored teeth. The 51-year-old Lucy Wamboi and mother of two explains to us where she got her skills from.
Kazi ya kufanya watu meno ikuwe nyeupe nilifundishwa na my grandmother. Yeye ndiye alinifunza kuhusu dawa za kiasili. Alinifundisha mambo mingi kuhusu magonjwa mingi, but meno ndio nilishika vizuri zaidi na nikaipenda zaidi. Hata kama najua hizi zingine, hiyo ndio nilionelea ni mzuri. Kwa hivyo mimi mwenyewe kazi yangu nilifunzwa na shosho yangu, my grandmother ndiye alinisaidia kujua hii kazi na nikaifanya. Na nimeifanya kwa miaka mingi. Juu naona hii inaweza fika 30 over above. Ile kazi yenyewe nimefanya miaka mingi zaidi. Kwa hivyo si kazi ya mwaka moja, ni miaka karibu 30 na nimeifanya kwa roho safi na kwa roho moja. Juu ni kazi inanifurahisha na sana sana inafurahisha wananchi.
The dental herbalist who has been offering dental services using herbs for more than 30 years now explains to us on the importance of using herbs to clean discolored teeth.
Kwa hivyo miti kulingana na mimi ni dawa. Tukiangalia miti zote kwa shamba, si miti mingi si dawa, lakini watu hawajui. Ni venye tuliignore mambo ya miti. Juu watu wa zamani walikuwa wanatumia miti, hawakuenda hospitali, walikuwa wanatumia miti na wanapona. Na ukitaka kujua miti ni mzuri, hata wanyama wapoli wenye ni wanono hawaendagi hospitali, wanakula hiyo miti na ni dawa. Wanakaa kwa jua, wakaa kwa mvua na hawagaonjeki, kwa maana wakikula hiyo majani watapona. Kwa hivyo miti si kitu ya kuignore, ni miti hata ndio inatengeneza dawa. hata hizi zingine za kawaida. Ni venye ni lazima tu usomee kama venye nimesomea kuchanganya. Ujue ukichanganya hii na hii inatengeneza ndawa. Usipitishe. Hata kazi yangu ya kuosha watu meno hiyo nimefanya miaka mingi. Watu wote wanafurahia kwa maana mimi najua kuchanganya hii na hii. Ukishachanganya jino inatoka ikiwa white. Kwa hivyo kulingana na herbal, mimi kwangu ningetaka kuambia ni mzuri, bora tu ujue kuchanganya vizuri. Na ni kitu haina side effect. Kwa maana ukitumia hiyo hata kuosha watu meno, hakuna side effect. Hata ukikaa hiyo miaka yote, hutang'oka meno, hutasikia shida ya meno. Kwa hivyo ni kitu ya maana sana. Mtu akija na meno yenye imeharibika, hajachidagi akirudi tena kwetu. Ukishaosha within half an hour, itakaa miaka yako ya maisha. Kwa hivyo hutapata meno brown na hutapata shida na hutaumwa. Hiyo ni kitu yenye ni mzuri kwa herbal. Kitu ya pili, kwa herbal, wakati unaoshwa bado inatibu magonjwa zingine. Hata kama ni kuosha umeoshwa, bado wakati naosha bado natibu hiyo jino. Kama ilikuwa na shida fulani, nikiosha hiyo shida inaisha. Kitu ya tatu yenye bado ninafurahisha, situmii chuma ati unasikia uchungu. Kwetu hakuna uchungu. Ukishakuja kuna watu wanaopanga uchungu wanakuuliza iko na uchungu? Hapana. Naambia haina uchungu na hakuna shida yoyote kwa meno. Kwa kwetu. Kwa hivyo hiyo ndio nafurahia sana.
A significant number of people in Kenya are exposed to fluoride levels above normal in their drinking water, hence making the areas prone to dental fluorosis.
Kuna maji ambayo iko na fluorosis, ni chemical ya maji ambayo inatoka kwa maji, na sana sana maji ya borehole. Na sana sana unapata hata watu wa Kisumu, nikuja kuona hata nikajua karibu nijue ya Hero ni wapi, unapata watu wa huko anakwambia kijiji yao yote watu wote unapata meno yao ni brown. Na sana sana washikisha kuja unawatibu na meno yao inakuwa safi, alafu unapata customer wakiletana. Kwa maana mtu akioshwa meno yake ikuwe white, anaweza toka hapa Mombasa, wanatoka mpaka mbali, kwa maana meno yake sana sana watu wenye napata wengi niseme 80% ni watu wa kuletana. Unapata mwingine amefurahia akasema lazima ataleta customer. So tunapata watu kupitia kazi yetu. Kwa hivyo fluorosis ni kemikali mbaya ambayo inaharibu meno. Na ujue ni mbaya, inaharibu layer ya juu ya meno. Hiyo enamel. Ikishaharibika unapata inaleta hata mashimo. Kwa maana hiyo kitu inakula is like kutu last. Venye unapata chuma inakulika na last, ndio unaona jino inakulika na hiyo chemical ya fluorosis. Ikisha kula unapata jino inajing'oa. Unapata hata customer wengine wanakuambia client, jino yangu ilijitoa nikiwa nimelala. Hata nikikaa tu jino imekuta imeng'oka. Kwa maana hiyo kitu ambayo ni fluorosis si kitu ya mchezo. Hata naambianga client ni vizuri kuangaliwa meno at least kama mwaka moja. Kwa maana kama uko na hiyo fluorosis tunaitoa badala ya kuifunika. Tunaitoa, inatoka, hiyo jino inakaa white, na tena ikisha kaa white tumeitibu. Wakati tumeosha hiyo fluorosis tumetibu, so tumetoa ugonjwa kwa jino. Kwa maana ikishatoka hiyo kala, kuna wengine wanakuambia hapana, mimi nafurahia nikiwa hivyo, nimeoa, nimeolewa. Nikamwambia hapana, hii si mambo na kuana kuolewa. Hii ni mambo na kufanya meno yako ikae miaka mingi. Juu usipoosha ikule, hiyo kutu itaendelea, iharibu jino na ikatike. Kwa hivyo miaka yako ya uzeeni utapata una meno, utakaa kibogoyo, na niwe kusema utaki kuoshwa meno.
Just as Lucy Wamboi inherited her dental skills from her grandmother, she has also passed it to her daughter Elizabeth, who is now pursuing a dental course in the university. The 22-year-old Elizabeth tells us what inspired her to join a medical school.
Back then when I was young, my mom was doing dental, like she was doing herbal medicine, like dental in the field of herbal. So I got interested because she was single and she was handling everything alone. with the business. So like I was okay. So I got curious and I wanted to learn more. So there was a time she used to come to our place, and she used to tell me about it, and she used to come to she used to take me to her workplace. Before it was not here, it was she started at a point, and then now she advanced and came to the office that she is in Nairobi. So she used to show me how she used to make those concoctions, how she mixed, how the patients, how the teeth, they were turned from brown to white. And
iliangaziwa sana huku Kenya ikisherehekea siku ya Mashujaa katika kaunti ya Kericho. Siku ya Alhamisi iliyopita, Rais Daktari William Ruto alitia sahihi sheria mbalimbali kuhusiana na masuala ya afya, zikiwemo ile sheria ya Primary Health Care Act 2023, the Digital Health Act 2023, the Facility Improvement Financing Act 2023 na the Social Health Insurance Act 2023. Sheria hizi, mtazamaji, zitasaidia katika kutoa mwongozo wa utekelezaji wa huduma ya afya kwa wote, yani Universal Health Coverage, ambayo kwa sasa imeanza kufanya kazi. Mtazamaji, utakumbuka kwamba akiongea katika uwanja wa Kiprugut Chumo, Rais Ruto alitangaza kuwa kila Mkenya atapata haki ya matibabu kulingana na katiba ya Kenya. Rais alisema sheria hizi mpya, mtazamaji, za afya zitaimarisha afya kutoka maisha na kuzipa jamii nguvu ya kufanya kazi. Hata hivyo, utekelezaji wa huduma za afya kwa wote utakuwa vipi? Ni swali ambalo Wakenya wengi wanaendelea kujiuliza. Tumetafuta wataalamu wa masuala ya afya na kiuchumi kutusaidia katika uchanganuzi wa swala hili. Upande wangu wa kushoto ni naye John Wanyungu, msaidizi mkuu katika kitengo cha huduma ya afya kwa jamii katika Wizara ya Afya. Karibu sana ndugu John.
Asante sana.
Na vile vile pia niko naye ndugu David Alulu, mchanganuzi wa masuala ya kisiasa na uchumi. Karibu sana David.
Shukran.
Labda nikianza na ndugu John kutoka Wizara ya Afya. Bwana Wanyungu, Rais William Ruto aliweza kutia sahihi miswada 4 ambayo nimeitaja pale awali kuhusiana na swala hili, tukinukuu kwa lugha ya Kimombo. Katika kupitisha sheria hizi za afya, labda rais ameanza kutimiza yaliyomo kwenye ruwaza yake kuhusu masuala ya afya ama ni nini? Tukianza na hapo.
Asante sana Bwana Rashid. So hizi sheria sasa ni sheria 4 ambazo zimepitishwa na Rais Daktari William Ruto, ni za kuimarisha ama ku-operationalize utendaji kazi wa universal health coverage. Na kwanza kuna vitengo 4 ambazo zinasaidia utendaji kazi wa universal health coverage. Cha kwanza ni kuhakikisha kwamba tuko na huduma afya. Cha pili ni kuhakikisha kwamba tuko na commodities za madawa. Cha tatu ni kuhakikisha kwamba tuko na technology ambayo inahitajika kufacilitate kazi, utendaji kazi. Na ya mwisho kabisa ambayo ni ya 4 ni kuhakikisha kwamba tuko na metaja 3, ili hizo zikiwa pamoja ziweze kufanya mpango wa afya kwa wote kufaulu. Kwa hivyo hizi sheria ambazo zimetiwa sahihi na rais, ya kwanza ni Social Health Insurance. Hii ni kuhakikisha kwamba Wakenya wote, wale ambao wako na uwezo kutoa pesa kuchangia insurance, na pia wale ambao hawana, wote wameikwa pamoja. Wale ambao hawana uwezo walipiwe na serikali na wanatambuliwa kutoka jamii, wanaandikishwa na serikali inatoa pesa kukava hao. Wale ambao wana uwezo kutoa pesa wanatoa kulingana na kiwango yao, kuanzia shilingi 300, wale ambao wana uwezo chini kuelekea juu hadi shilingi 3000 wale ambao wana uwezo. Hii ni kuhakikisha kwamba utoaji wa afya inagharamiwa pamoja, pooling risks and also resources, kulipia utoaji wa afya, ili kila Mkenya yule ako na uwezo na mwenye ana uwezo wapate kupata matibabu wanapoyahitaji. Na hiyo ndio sasa tunatilia maanani kabisa kama Wizara ya Afya. Ndio.
Asante sana Bwana John Wanyungu. Nikirudi kwako Bwana David Alulu, tumekuwa na sheria kuhusu afya kwa wote kama ilivyo katika katiba, lakini shida ya utekelezwaji wake huwa ni nini? Kwa sababu sheria zipo, lakini bado utasikia Wakenya wanalia kuhusiana na masuala ya afya.
Asante sana Bwana Rashid. Tatizo kubwa ambalo tuko nalo Kenya ni tatizo la ubinafsi.
Manake ni kweli rais ameweka mikakati mizuri kwenye ile ruwaza yake, the plan. Alizungumzia kiundani sana kuhusiana na mambo ya kiafya. Na nakumbuka wakati akifanya campaign, actually alikuwa amesema kufikia Disemba mwaka jana kila Mkenya atakuwa na kadi ya NHIF. Kwa hivyo ni jambo ambalo tumekuwa tukitarajia kwa kipindi kirefu. Lakini tatizo kubwa tulilonalo hapa Kenya, itaonekana kwamba licha ya kuwa na ile goodwill kutoka kwa rais, lakini wanao tusaidia kutekeleza ndio watatusumbua ama wanafanya mikakati hizi na kuwa kana kwamba hazifanyi kazi. Tumekuwa na kesi kwa mfano hivi majuzi ambapo NHIF imekuwa ikilipa hospitali ama bills ambazo hazipo, yani ufisadi unafanyika ndani kwa NHIF. Manake kwamba pesa zile ambazo watu wanazitoa hata kama ni kidogo zimekuwa zikitumiwa kwa njia ambayo haistahili. Kwa hivyo ili tuwe na mafanikio kwenye hii act mpya ambayo rais ameweka ama ameidhinisha, itabidi kuwe na nidhamu kutoka kwa Wizara ya Afya, kuwe na nidhamu kwa wale wasimamizi wa hii fund, kuwe na nidhamu kwa Wakenya, lakini kikubwa sana serikali ijaribu kutafuta jinsi ya kutengeneza NHIF ama act mpya ionyeshe kwamba insurance ambayo tunalipia ina umuhimu, kwa sababu sasa hivi tunatoa pesa za NHIF, lakini ukienda hospitalini ukiwa umelazwa utachajiwa percentage kidogo, unaambiwa ni ya kulipa kitanda. Pesa zingine lazima utajilipia mwenyewe. Alafu wafanyakazi wa serikali ambao wangekuwa kielelezo ama wangekuwa kipaumbele kukuwa beneficiaries wa hii fund, wao wanatibiwa hospitali za kibinafsi, wanalipa insurance companies za private ambazo wakiugua wao wanaenda kuhudumiwa vizuri hospitali za kifahari, wengine wanaenda hata nje ya nchi kwa zile facilities ambazo ni private insurance ambayo bado inatoka kwa pesa za wananchi ambazo zinafaa zifadhili afya ya umma. Kwa hivyo there is a need of goodwill kuanzia kwa serikali, tukiongozwa na rais na viongozi wa serikalini na wabunge na kila mtu, tuseme kwamba primary healthcare ya Kenya hasa kwa viongozi na wafanyikazi wa serikali ni hospitali za umma. Wewe pesa zako ambazo umekatwa zitakufadhili, lakini ukiugua enda kwa hospitali ya umma. Ukienda private unajilipia pesa zako, sio insurance company na sio kitu kingine, unajilipia pesa zako. Tutakuwa na goodwill, lakini kwa sasa nadhani tungali tuko na uphill task. Ni safari.
Anaitwa David Alulu. Bwana Wanyungu, nadhani Alulu amezungumzia swala hili la NHIF vizuri. Hivi karibuni NHIF itakuwa sheria ya social health insurance. Hebu tueleze vizuri kuhusiana na swala hili tupate kuelewa na msikilizaji mtazamaji apate kuelewa zaidi.
Asante. So hapa awali kulikuwa na NHIF ambayo ilikuwa ni ya wale ambao walilipia ndio walinufaika na hiyo support ya NHIF. Na hiyo iliwacha Wakenya wengi sana bila cover ya insurance. Na sasa hii ambayo imeletwa ya National Social Health Insurance Scheme, hiyo ina ubaguzi, hiyo ina ensure kuna equity, kuna usawa katika cover ya matibabu. Na hiyo ndio tofauti kubwa baina ya Social Health Insurance Scheme na NHIF. So tukitumia hii ya ambayo imekuja sasa hivi ya Social Health Insurance Scheme, hiyo inaleta kila mtu pamoja, unlike NHIF. Swala ambalo ndugu yangu amezungumzia kwamba NHIF ilikuwa na dosari, hiyo ni ukweli na tumesoma kwa magazeti, tumeelezwa. Na hii ambayo hii sheria mpya ambayo imekuja Social Health Insurance Scheme factor in zile weaknesses ambazo kwa NHIF. Kwa mfano tuko na board ambayo ita manage affairs Social Health Insurance Fund ili kuhakikisha kwamba claims zote ziko vetted, hakuna usaligushi ambazo zina claim na kulipwa. Kutakuwa na mechanism ya kuangalia kwamba pesa zote ambazo zimetolewa zimetumika vilivyo na Wakenya wote wamenufaika na hakuna Mkenya ambaye ameachwa nje kwa sababu hana uwezo kulipia. Hilo tofauti ya National Social Health Insurance Scheme na NHIF. Kwa hivyo hiyo imeshughulikiwa.
Labda Bwana Wanyungu, kwa faida ya mtazamaji na msikilizaji, je, ile NHIF itaondolewa ndo tubakie na hii ya ambayo itakuwa ni Social Health Insurance?
Ndio, sasa NHIF hiyo imekuwa scrapped. Tunapokuwa na social insurance inapokuwa effective, NHIF inakuwa scrapped. Hata kama umesoma kwa magazeti ni kwamba wafanyikazi ambao kwa NHIF saizi watapewa muda kama mwaka moja, na kutakuwa na advertisement. Wale ambao kwa NHIF pia wata-apply tu kama Kenya wengine wote, na wafanyishwe interview. Wenye watahitimu watachukuliwa, wenye watahitimu wataachwa nje. Kwa hivyo NHIF inaondoka na ina pave way for National Social Insurance Fund. Yes.
Nikirudi kwako Bwana Walulu, naona umetoa kalamu na karatasi unaandika. Wakenya wengi wanahitaji kushughulikiwa kimatibabu lakini hawana uwezo wa kifedha. Je, pesa zitatoka wapi kugharamia shughuli za kifedha? Na ni swali ambalo unastahili kulipeleka huko, lakini na kufahamu vizuri. Je, kuna mipango ya kukatwa mishahara wafanyikazi wa serikali tena kugharamia mpango huo wa serikali?
Shukran. Kwanza kabla hatujaliguzia pesa zitatoka wapi, wajua Kenya ni taifa ambalo ni la kipekee ulimwenguni. Wakati ambapo rais anasema kwamba aliye na pesa na asiye na pesa wote wapewe haki sawa ya kiafya. Sasa wale ambao wako na pesa na hawana jinsi serikali kuwashika, yani mishahara, wafanya biashara na wanapata pesa kiasi, wao pia wataenda kusema hawana pesa. Sasa utajikuta hakuna equity pale kwa hii distribution ya hii cover. But iwapo kutakuwa na jinsi ya serikali kufuatilia na kujua kwamba kama jinsi KRA inapo charge tax kwamba huyu David Alulu biashara yake mwaka huu ni milioni 2. Kwa hivyo 2.75% ya hii inafaa iende kwa social insurance, health cover. So ikatwe hapo iende, usipolipa unakuwa na kitu ambacho kitafanywa. Sijui itafanywa, lakini Kenya ni nchi tofauti sana. Lakini pesa zitatoka wapi?
Ama tutakatwa ushuru zaidi? Of
course, rais alisema vizuri na akasema pesa zitatolewa 2.75 zitatolewa kwa mshahara ya mtu ambaye ameajiriwa. Kile ambacho
2700
2.75% ina maana kwamba kama unapata 10,000 inafaa utoe shilingi 270 ndio inafaa zikatwe kwa mshahara wako. Kama unapata 100,000 alafu utatoa 2,700. Pale ambapo sioni kama kuna favor ama kuna usawa ni yule ambaye anapata milioni 1, kwa sababu nimesikia ndugu hapa amesema wa chini atatoa 300, wa juu atoe 3,000. Sasa bado kuna kitu akijatimia. Rais alituahidi akasema mwenye anapata mingi atoe mingi, mwenye anapata kidogo atoe kidogo. Manake yule anapata mshahara wa milioni 2, 2.75% inafaa ikatwe iende kwa insurance ya health. Lakini kwa sababu bado hatujafikia pale inchi ya kuwa na usawa na kuweza kutembea kwa hiyo safari pamoja, nadhani sasa ni vizuri pia, sababu rais amezungumzia akasema mojawapo ya source of funding ni kutoka kwa donors. Alright, kuna wafadhili ambao watakuja nadhani kwa sababu ya kusimamia wale ambao hawana uwezo wa kipesa. Lakini sheria inafaa iwekwe ya kuweza kuzingatia kwamba huu ufadhili ambao unakuja isikuwe ni njia nyingine ile ambao wenyewe wanasema cash cow, kwamba sasa tumepata mbinu mali pa kupata. Kwa sababu shida ambayo tuko nayo Kenya ni kwamba kila mtu aliye na nafasi ya kufanyia wananchi kazi haoni nafasi ya kufanyia wananchi kazi. Yeye anaona nafasi ya kuweza kujinufaisha kama mtu kibinafsi. Kwa hivyo kuna need ya kwamba Kenya sasa bunge na viongozi ambao wamepewa nafasi waweza kuziba zile nafasi, mianya ambazo watu wanaweza kutumia hii fund kwenda kufanya mambo yao kibinafsi, na kutumia hii fund kufanya vitu ambazo zimekuwa zikifanya awali ambazo NHIF imekuwa ikifanya. Unakuta kwamba pesa zinalipwa lakini anayekatwa pesa hata ajui kwamba alikatwa pesa. Unaenda kusikia kwamba pesa zilikatwa. So there is a need kuwa na mikakati ambazo zitawekwa. So pesa zipo. Kenya is a rich country, pesa zitapatikana, lakini zitaenda wapi? Hiyo ndio swali kubwa.
Na tukiswalia hapo katika kukatwa hapo, kuna mmoja hapa ananiuliza swali kabla tuendelee mbele, na kila mmoja ana huru kulijibu, lakini kwanza nimrushie ndugu Bwana John Wanyungu ambaye ni msaidizi mkuu katika kitengo cha huduma ya afya kwa jamii, Wizara ya Afya. Kuna mtu anauliza hapa, ameuliza Kiingereza lakini nitatafsiri Kiswahili. Je, ni kweli kwamba anayepata shilingi milioni 1 atahitajika kulipa shilingi 27,500 au ni pale tu itakatwa kwa shilingi 5,000, na kwa nini?
Asante. So hii tunafanya ni improvement in steps. Hata kuweka kiwango ya 300 na 3,000, hiyo ni improvement, kwa sababu hapa awali ilikuwa ni kila mtu atoe pesa sawa. 1,700 wale wameajiriwa na 500 wale. Yeah. Baada unaona sasa serikali imechukua hatua na kuna improvement. Tumesema sasa tusongeshe hiyo, wenye wako na mapato ya chini watoe 300, wale wako na mapato ya juu watoe 3000. Na hiyo ni mwanzo, haijakuwa fixed. So ni hizo rates zitakuwa reviewed over time. Hii ni ya kuanzia, but unavyoona ni kwamba hiyo ni improvement already kutoka ile ilikuwa fixed at 1700 for everyone. Mwenye anapata 10,000,000 na mwenye anapata 10,000 walikuwa wanatoa pesa sawa. Unaona sasa hizi kuna utofauti kidogo. Najua kwamba hatujatimiza ile 2.7% kwa kila mtu, hasa wale wako na mapato ya juu, but for a start naona kama hapo serikali imejaribu.
Lakini Bwana John, kuna mtu ambaye anatutizama sasa hizi kwenye runinga na kuna mtu anatusikiliza kwenye redio kwa sasa.
Ndio.
Anauliza, miaka 60 ya uhuru wa taifa letu la Kenya, swala la afya paka watu wakamuliwe, si serikali iamue tu idumia wananchi wake?
Sio kamuliwa, kwa sababu kuna responsibility ya serikali na pia kuna responsibility ya individuals.
Ndio.
Na wote individuals pamoja na serikali lazima tufanye kazi pamoja.
Ndio.
So serikali inapoweka in some resources, pia individual level tunaweka in some resources ili tupate kufanya kufadhili ama kufinance utoaji ama utendaji kazi wa Wizara ya Afya. Kwa hivyo tuko na responsibility as individuals kugharamia afya yetu, na pia serikali kuna responsibility zaidi kugharamia afya ya wananchi. Na ndio maana kuna individual contribution na pia serikali inaongezea pesa haswa to cover those one less advantaged socio-economically. Ndio.
Kwa hiyo ni pande zote mbili. Wananchi wanatoa kidogo, lakini serikali pia inasaidia.
Exactly. Ndio.
Lulu, naona umekunja sura, nataka kuzungumzia sasa.
Hilo lazima nizungumzie. Wajua tatizo kubwa tuko nalo hapa Kenya ni kwamba kila mtu ana mentality ya kufanya biashara. Na serikali inapokuwa imejituma kufanya kazi ambayo inafaa kufanya kwa ajili ya kuinua mahitaji au mahitaji ya kimsingi ya wananchi wake, pia kuna mtu mule kwenye wizara ambaye akili zake zinapiga hesabu jinsi ya kunufaika kipesa. Serikali ilianza mpango wa elimu bila malipo 2003. Ikaanza polepole, lakini leo hii nataka kuhakikishia kwamba hakuna elimu ya bure Kenya. Wakati unapeleka mtoto shuleni siku hizi, kwa shule ya public unaambiwa kuna admission fee sijui 7,000, alafu sijui ulete nini 3,000, ulete. Mwisho wa siku nakuta mtu ana-admit mtoto public school analipa pesa mingi kuliko ana-admit private school. That is why unaona shule za private zinazidi kupata umaarufu sana Kenya kuliko zile za msingi. Sasa turudi kwa afya. Wakati ambapo serikali imejituma kwa ajili ya kuinua vitengo vyake vya kiafya, unakuta pia mule ndani kuna wafanyikazi ambao wanafanya biashara, wako na hospitali zao za kibinafsi. Madaktari wetu wengi wana own hospitali zao za kibinafsi. So anapokuja hapa, yeye anadunisha kazi inayofanywa hapo hospitali ya umma ili apate wateja waende kwenye hospitali yake ya kibinafsi. Na utasikia actually wakati wanakupea referral wanakuambia uende mahali fulani, sababu anajua hapo ndipo atapatia kipato chake kikubwa kuliko kile ambacho anapata. So ili tuweze kunufaika, serikali ya Kenya inahitaji kuweza kuinua hadhi yake ya kiafya. Kwa njia gani? Number one, hawa wafanyikazi wanaofanyia serikali kupitia Wizara ya Afya, mahitaji yao ya kimsingi kama mshahara, malipo, wapayeni malipo mazuri, kwa sababu wale wanakuambia kisababu kinachofanya haya yote yafanyike ni kwa sababu pesa tunazopata hazikimu mahitaji yetu. So utakuta hata wizi wa madawa, watu kukosekana kazi kwa sababu wanafanya huduma kwa hospitali zao, na watu kunyimwa mahitaji ya kimsingi kwa sababu wale wangefanya hivyo hawapo, wanashughulika mambo mengine kwingine. Yataweza tu kukamilika ama kuweza kumalizika iwapo serikali itaweza kufanya huu mpango ufanikiwe. Serikali ina uwezo wa kusema kila mwananchi apate afya ya bure bila kulipia anything. Serikali ina uwezo. Lakini kwa sababu kuna watu wamejituma, serikali inapojituma nao wanajituma kwamba mimi lazima nipate kitu hapo. Yaani mwisho wa siku mtu amepanga kwamba hizi pesa lazima zipatikane hapa. Ni kama jinsi askari wa polisi anapotoka kwenda kusimama kwa traffic barabarani na ametoka na target kwamba leo inafaa nirudi na 100,000. So atafanya kwa vyote vile apata arudishe kule ambako ametoka. Kwa hivyo ni serikali ikuje na mikakati jinsi ambavyo itaweza kuimprove health facilities zetu ili zikuwe na hadhi, kwamba hata mimi ninapotoka nikienda Kenyatta National Hospital, naenda nikijua kule nitahudumiwa na heshima, nitahudumiwa na hali ya upendo. Wale watu wanaonihudumia pia mazingira yao ni mazuri kazini, kwa hivyo wanakupokea kwa furaha. Unajua, ukiajiri mtu hotelini kama waiter, alafu yeye anasavu watu nyama na kuku, but wakati wao kula unamwambia aenda akule ugali na cabbage ambaye hajakaangwa, huyo mtu atakuibia, atachukua vipande vya nyama hiyo kwa hiyo cabbage hajakaangwa akule ndio aweze kufurahia. Serikali iweze kuimprove hii facilities, lakini siwaanze na wale wanafanya kazi pale.
Okay. Mtazamaji, mbali popote ulipo, endapo ndo kwa sasa unafungua runinga yako ya KBC Channel 1, kipindi hewani ni Good Morning Kenya, ikishirikiana na Zinga kupitia upande wa pili wa KBC Radio Taifa Sauti ya Mkenya. Na studioni, mtazamaji, tunajadili swala muhimu la masuala ya afya, ambapo katika manifesto yake Rais Daktari William Ruto aliweza kuzungumzia kwamba hakuna Mkenya ambaye atateseka kuhusiana na matibabu, na hivi majuzi aliweza kuzindua rasmi mpango huu. Mtazamaji, kumbuka ndani ya studio niko naye ndugu John Wanyungu, msaidizi mkuu katika kitengo cha huduma ya afya kwa jamii, Wizara ya Afya, na vile vile pia tuko naye ndugu David Alulu, mchanganuzi wa masuala ya kisiasa na kiuchumi, tukigusia tu swala hili. Nikirudi kwako bwana John Wanyungu, ameibua masuala muhimu sana kuhusiana na health facilities, huduma, uwepo wa madaktari. Na juzi pale Kericho mimi nilikuwa hapo, Rais kwanza aliweza kushukuru sana Wizara ya Afya na wale washirika wengine kama WHO na wale wahisani wengine. Labda kivyenu haya masuala ambayo ameibua, ndio saizi serikali imekuja na hii mbinu ya kuweza kuhakikisha kwamba mwananchi anapata masuala bora ya afya. Je, na nyinyi kama wizara mnajaribu kuangalia masuala aliyoibua kwamba kuna madaktari ambao wana huduma zao nyingine, madawa na vile vile pia huduma kwa mwananchi?
Asante sana. So masuala ambayo ndugu Lula na ameraise ni muhimu sana na tunayafahamu. Kwanza hatuwezi generalize, hatuwezi sema kwamba haya mambo anaguzia yana apply generally katika kila mhudumu wa afya ama kila hospitali. Katika Social Health Insurance Fund kuna funds ambazo zimekuwa created. Moja hapo ni Facility Improvement Fund. Hiyo ni fund ambayo itakusanya pesa pale hospitali zile ambazo zinalipisha level 4, 5, 6, na hiyo pesa itakuwa retained hapo ili kuboresha facilities, infrastructure, ili utendaji kazi uimarike katika hizo hospitali. Kuna ingine ambayo imekuwa inaitwa Primary Health Care Fund. Hiyo ni ya kuimarisha utendaji kazi kwa zile lower levels ya healthcare system. Tuko level 1 ambayo ni community level, tuko level 2 ambayo ni dispensary, level 3 ambayo ni health center, level 4 ambayo ni sub-county referral hospital. So hizo zote zimekuwa taken care of, kwa sababu shida ambayo tumekuwa nayo hapa awali ni kwamba hizo facilities zilikuwa zinatoa afya bila kugenerate revenue ya kushughulikia mambo madogo, usafi na vindogo ndogo ambazo facility ambao wanaweza junulia wenyewe. So hii fund imekuwa created ili facilities wenyewe raise their own revenue, was manage, zitumike kuimarisha infrastructure na commodity na supplies pale hospitali badala ya kungojea kutoka serikali kuu. Kwa hivyo yale ambayo ndugalula anagusia ni mambo ambayo tunafahamu. Tukiongelea mambo ya madaktari kuwa na their personal interests kazini, hiyo ndio ambalo tuka aware of, na hatuwezi kwamba lina affect madaktari wote ama uguzi wote. Ukichukua nyanya gunia moja utapata nyanya 1, 2, 3 ambazo zimeoza. Na hiyo yosema kwamba nyanya gunia mzima zimeoza. Kwa hivyo tunasema kwamba wale madaktari mmoja au wawili ambao wanaweza kuwa na personal interests ambazo na conflict, tunajia kazi wao, tuko na mechanism internally kwa wizara ya kudili na wao, kwa sababu tungependa kwamba madaktari ambao wameandikwa na Wizara ya Afya wa dedicate their time 8 hours in a day wakwe kazini, na kama kuna biashara zingine kando interfere na utendaji kazi wao. Kwa hivyo kuna mechanism, kuna systems za kudili na kesi kama hizo, lakini hatuwezi then kutumia kesi 2-3 ambazo tukale labda anaweza kuwa nafahamu kulaumu madaktari wetu wote Kenya mzima na uguzi na utendaji kazi wa afya wote, kwa sababu tunajua kwamba kuna madaktari, kuna uguzi, kuna watu utendaji kazi wa afya wengi, majority ambao wanafanya kazi mzuri. Tumekuwa na shida na commodities, na hiyo ndio imekuwa one of the pillars ya kwamba tutainvest kwa commodities, tutainvest kwa human resource, tutainvest kwa technology, ili hizi nguzo zote zikiimarika basi kazi ipate kufanyika vizuri. Kwa hivyo hatuja lose hope, na tuja fail, bado tunaendelea kuimprove with time. Yes.
Labda kabla sijarudi kwake David Alulu, kuna swala pia linajitokeza. Kuna magonjwa sugu sana ambayo yanakabili binadamu, na hususan tuzungumzie Kenya, saratani, ambao saratani inasumbua sana katika taifa letu la Kenya kwa sasa. Vile vile pia kuna ugonjwa wa kisukari, kuna yale maradhi ya figo. Kuna mwingine anauliza, je, haya magonjwa haya ni hazina gani itaweza kushughulikia magonjwa kama haya? Je, pengine hii social health insurance itaweza kukava kuhusiana na haya, ama tutafanyaje kuhusiana?
So social health insurance cover ni kama blanket insurance cover. Ndani yake kuna fund. So nimesema kuna fund ya facility improvement, kuna fund ya primary health care fund, na pia kuna fund ya tatu ambayo ina critical care na chronic illness. Sasa hiyo
critical care na chronic illness.
Hiyo pia ni fund ambayo pia itachangiwa na serikali na wafadhili. Nayo kazi yake ita take over wale wagonjwa ambao kuna chronic illnesses kama unasema ya kisukari, ya hypertension, ya figo, kwa sababu sasa hiyo mahitaji yao ya kujuu yatashughulikiwa na critical care na chronic illness fund ambayo iko katikati ya National Social Health Insurance Fund. Yeah.
Okay. Bwana Alulu, kuna vitu naona una note hapo down, lakini kabla kunote nikuulize swali. Je, unahisi kwamba Wizara ya Afya nchini imetengewa pesa za kutosha wakati wa kusoma kwa bajeti, ama itabidi ipewe pesa zaidi kugaramia mpango huu kabambe wa afya?
Unajua tatizo ambalo tuko nalo Kenya ni kwamba pesa zenye zinatengwa huwa hazitoshi. Hata zikiwa nyingi zaidi huwa hazitoshi. Hatujawahi pata wakati ambapo tumeambiwa sasa round hii hizi pesa mmetupa zimetosha. Kwa hivyo Wizara ya Afya inawezekana kwamba haipewi pesa za kutosha kutoka kwa National Kitty, kwa Exchequer, lakini ni wizara ambayo inapata support kubwa kutoka kwa wafadhili. World Health Organization, juzi tumekuwa na kesi ya Global Fund ya hizi mambo ya mosquito nets na vitu zingine ambayo ilikuwa inafanyika. So utarealize kwamba Wizara ya Afya iko na mianya mingi ya kuweza kupata pesa. Na kwa sababu hiyo mimi sitakubaliana na Wizara ya Afya wakisema hawana pesa za kutosha, kwa sababu licha ya kuwa ya facilitation ambao wanapewa, pia wamepewa hiyo nafasi ya ku fundraise na kusolicit funds from other sources. Lakini jambo ambalo nadhani bado linatutatiza kama taifa ni sasa uwajibikaji wa hizi pesa wakati ambazo hizi pesa zimekuja. Unajua, nikikupa shilingi hata kama ni 5,000 ambazo unasema hapana, sikutaka 5, nataka 50,000, lakini hii 5,000 inakushinda kumanage. Sasa utapata zingine za kufanya namna gani? Kwa sababu shida ambayo tunapata Kenya ni wakati ambapo wizara ikipatiwa 25 billion, hapo sasa unapiga hesabu kwamba maybe 50% or 60% of this ndio kupotelea kwa vitu ambazo hazipo. Nimewasikia mara nyingi tu magavana wakisema kuna zile mashine ambazo zilikuwa procured sometimes back ambao wanainsist, wanasema hawakuwahi husishwa, hawakuambia nini kinaendelea. Wao waliambiwa saini hapa, mashine ndio zimepatikana. So iwapo kutakuwa na jinsi ya serikali kuweza kuimprove level of partnership, na sababu health iko devolved, na iwapo serikali itapata jinsi ya kupartner na county governments so that whatever is given, for example kwa Kericho County, isikuwe ndio inapeana Vihiga, kwa sababu needs za Vihiga zinaweza kuwa si ndio need za Kericho. Lakini wakati ambapo kuna ile consultation na clear ground ya kupartner, inamaanisha kwamba vitu ambazo zitakuwa zinapeanwa kwako Rashid na vitu ambazo zinapeanwa kwangu zitakuwa ni vitu viwili tofauti. Kwa sababu watu ukiangalia mimi na wewe tukisimama, utaona mwili wangu ni mkubwa kidogo, wako ni kidogo kiasi. So lazima tujue nini ambayo kinahitajika wapi wakati upi. Itatusaidia kuweza kuwa na insurance na health facilities ambazo zinafaa mahitaji ya Mkenya, na watu wote watafurahia kwa hii. Mimi sijahitimu kumshauri rais, lakini ningekuwa na jinsi ya kumshauri ama kutoa mawaidha yangu, ningesema jambo la kwanza ambalo lingehitajika kufanyika ni kuwasaidia wananchi waweza kuelewa hasa hizi fund acts ambazo zimesainiwa zinamaanisha nini hasa. Kwa sababu watu wengi sasa hivi ukisikia huko nje wanasema NHIF imesha. Mwingine aliniuliza jana, wewe unaenda kwa TV, hebu tuambie kabla uende kwa TV, tuambie hii pesa ya insurance tumekuwa tukilipa inaenda wapi sasa, na inatakata mwezi inaenda wapi? Yani kuna sort of confusion ambayo watu hawana kwa sababu hakujafanyika clear civic education. So ingewezekana serikali inge roll out civic education, watu wapate ufahamu nini ambacho tunamaanisha. Hii fund inasaidia, amezungumzia critical chronic illness. Rais akizungumza Kericho nilimsikiza vizuri kwamba anataka kila mtu, hata ukigonjeka kansa na unatoka Cheptulu, kijiji ambayo mimi natoka kule Vihiga, hauna shamba ya kuuza, bado utahudumiwa kwa sababu serikali yako iko na mikakati imeweka ya kuweza kuwasaidia watu ambao wanapata magonjwa ambayo ni critical chronic. Lakini sasa watu wafahamishwe ni kitengo kipi, unaanzia wapi, unasaidika namna gani, na je kama hauna zile pesa mingi unaanzia wapi, kwa sababu tumeambiwa tu level 1, 2 na 3 ni free of charge, zingine utalipa, lakini zinafanyika namna gani? Ndio tusije tukachanganyikiwa. Mimi niende level 2 hospital nikidhani naenda kutibiwa bora, nimeenda na kansa, niambia hapana, hii yako sio hapa, unaenda referral. Shida ipatikane. So civic education ndio changamoto.
Alright. Nikirudi kwako ndugu bwana John Wanyungu, wengi wamekuwa wakilaumu NHIF kutokana na ubadhirifu, ufisadi ambao serikali imepoteza pesa nyingi sana. Je, Wakenya wanauliza mtazuia vipi wizi uno katika social health insurance?
Venye nilisema ni kwamba social health insurance iko na viwango za kuhold wale ambao wanaweza accountable kutoka kwa counties, sub county hadi national. Tuko na boards, tuko na committees. So hizo zote kazi yake ni kuangalia kwamba pesa zivujwi na tuna fake claims. Tutakuwa na kukagua claims kutoka kwa facilities ili wale watu tu ambao wametoa huduma ndio wana claim, kwa sababu NHIF vile tunajua imekuwa loopholes mingi, kumekuwa na false claims mingi na serikali ikapoteza pesa. Sasa hizo zote zimekuwa addressed kwa National Social Health Insurance scheme, ambayo sasa na hizo levels governance hadi kiwango chini kabisa itasaidia kuzuia kusikiwe na ufisadi ama wizi wa pesa ya umma. Yeah.
Alafu tukimalizia bwana Wanyungu, haya mabadiliko ambayo yamefanywa katika sekta ya afya, je, kuna matumaini kwamba yataweza kuimarisha afya ya Kenya?
Matumaini yapo, kwa sababu vile nimesema kumekuwa na changamoto nyingi, hasa upande wa wahudumu wa afya hatujakuwa nao na kwa kiwango ambayo inahitajika. Na unapoangalia pillars, nguzo za UHC, nguzo ya kwanza ni kuimarisha availability ya watendaji kazi kuanzia level 1. Umesikia rais equip 100,000 community promoters. Hiyo ni very big contribution, kwa sababu hapo ndio afya inaanzia pale mashinani. Sasa wako wamepatiwa favors za kazi, wanatembelea miji kuangalia hali ya afya, ili tukifanya hivyo kuna vitu ambazo zitaweza zuiliwa pale nyumbani zenye zoezi hitaji mtu aende hospitali. Kuna watu ambao wenye wako wagonjwa na wajua kama wagonjwa watafanywa screening nyumbani, wapate ku identify na ku referred. So tunaona hali ya afya generally ama kwa ujumla ikiimarika. Wanapoenda pale hospitali, kumekuwa na shida na communities. Sasa kuna big focus kuhakikisha kwamba tuko na madawa pale hospitali. Kumekuwa na utendaji kazi kutumia vitabu, makaratasi. Tumeleta technology, kuna sasa system ambayo inaitwa electronic community health management system pale community, na tuko ile hospitali. So mambo ya makaratasi na vitu kuandikwa na kutoeleweka haitakuwa, tunatumia technology kutoa huduma ya afya. Kwa hivyo sisi tunaona na zile mikakati ambazo serikali imeweka za UHC na kuchange mambo ya insurance, naona utendaji wa kazi wa afya ukiimarika na ukiwa bora kabisa sasa kuliko hapa awali. Ndio.
Bwana Lulu, kuna wale ambao wanasema kwamba huu mfumo ambao umekuja kwa sasa ni kuwafinyilia tu wa Kenya, lakini hamna lolote, ni PR tu. Sijui swala hili unalikubali?
Sioni kama ni PR. Naona kwa sababu hili ni jambo ambalo kwa wale ambao waliweza kupata nafasi ya kusoma manifesto ya Rais Ruto wakati akifanya campaign ile the plan, aliizungumzia kiundani sana, na mimi naona ni nafasi amechukua ya kuweza kutekeleza ile ahadi ambayo alitoa kwa Kenya. Kwa hivyo sioni kama ni PR, naona ni kitu ambacho tunakihitaji kama taifa. Ni jambo ambalo ile tunasema kwa Kiingereza it is overdue, yani imechelewa sana, ingefaa ifike kitambo. Changamoto tu ni jambo ambalo umemuuliza ndugu hapa. ni ufisadi. Ufisadi hasa kwa hizi kile, unajua hizi boards ambazo ziko nyingi na kamati, the more the committees, the more the corruption. Yani kuna wewe unajua kuna mahali ambapo hata suppliers ukiwauliza watakwambia anaambiwa kabla ulipwe lazima utoe kitu fulani, kabla utoe hii lazima ufanye hivi. So most of these committees nyingi zake zinatumika kama scapegoat ya kutumika kuweza kufuja mali ya umma na kuharibu vitu nyingi. Kwa hivyo nadhani kama kuna mali nafaa tu serikali iweke macho sana, ikiwezekana kamera zile kubwa ni kwa hizi kamati na boards, kwa sababu tunahitaji hii acts ambazo zimewekwa iwe ni turn around. Iwe turn around kwamba miaka zingine zinazokuja watu watasema Rais Ruto alikuja akaanzisha mpango na umeweza kutufaidi, kama alipoanza elimu ya msingi ya bila elimu Rais Kibaki. Tunaomba hii nayo kama ingewekwa concentration kwamba haitachukuliwa tu kimzaha, iwekwe concentration, watu waweke bidii, watu waweke uaminifu, na watu wajitume kuhakikisha kwamba wanaweza kusaidia taifa kusimama. Yeyote ambaye amepata nafasi ambayo ni ya kuhudumia wananchi aichukulie kama ni privilege. Sio, usichukulie kama ni right kwamba mimi niko hapa nataka nibebe kila kitu niende nacho, kwa sababu pia kidogo tu kwa ile tu mambo tu ya kimsingi watu tunajiambia kizuri unachokifanyia wengine kitakurudia wewe. Sasa ukipewa pesa za wagonjwa, unajua unabeba ugonjwa unapeleka kwako nyumbani. So Wakenya waheshimu tu kitengo kidogo, na tusione kama ni PR, tuichukulie kwa uzuri, tusikuwe na character ya kuweza kupoliticize kila kitu. Kuna mambo mengine yanaweza kuonekana kana kwamba ni uchungu, lakini mwishowe itakuwa ni raha. Kwa hivyo hii mimi naishabikia.
Alright, labda tu muda wangu ndo huo haunami, ni kija kwako ndugu bwana John Wanyungu. Kwa wale ambao wanakutizama kupitia runinga ya KBC Channel 1 kwa sasa ndani ya Good Morning Kenya, na wanaokusikiliza kupitia Radio Taifa Sauti ya Kenya, labda kwa dakika moja tu, una wasia gani, una wito gani kwao kulingana na swala zima hili la afya ya umma kwa wote, ambapo rais amesema kwamba hii afya mpaka itembezwe kule ambako haifiki afya itafika. Sijui unawaambia nini wa Kenya asubuhi ya leo?
Mimi ningependa kuambia wa Kenya kwamba yale mabadiliko ambayo tuko nayo kwa idara ya afya wote tuyashabikie, tuetilie manani, kwa sababu itatunufaisha sisi wote. Hakuna mtu ambaye ataachwa nyuma akihitaji huduma ya afya. Kila mtu atashughulikiwa. Yule mwenye anaweza lipia, mwenye hawezi lipia, wote serikali kuna mpango ya kuwashughulikiwa wote, na tu cooperate na serikali. Wale ambao watahitaji kutoa pesa kulingana na mpato yao wasihepe. Unajua Wakenya wako na tabia kuhepa malipo. Tutoe pesa kwa roho safi, kwa sababu hujui ni lini utahitaji huduma ya afya. Jambo la pili ambayo nataka kuunga mkono ndugu yangu Lulu ni kwamba ingawaje tulifanya public participation katika hizi bills kabla zikuwe sheria, kuna haja ya kuelimisha Wakenya. Kwa hivyo nimechukua hiyo positively. Nikirudi kwa wizara nitapeleka report kwamba tuelimishe Wakenya waelewe, ili wapate kusupport yale mabadiliko ambayo tunafanya kwa wizara ya afya. Kwa hivyo ni asante sana kwa Wakenya. Naomba kwamba tukue cooperative na supportive ya government efforts kuimarisha utendaji kazi wa afya nchini Kenya. Asante sana
Bwana Lulu. Sijui na ujumbe gani kwa Wakenya kuhusiana na masuala haya ya afya, na hususan na swala zima hili la social health insurance?
Mimi nina jambo ama shauku kidogo kuhusiana na CHPs, Community Health Promoters. Rais amekuwa kipaumbele kusema kwamba national government itatoa 50% na county government itatoa 50% ya stipends za kuwasaidia wale CHPs waweze kukimu mahitaji yao wakifanya service kwa community. Tatizo ambayo tuko nalo, sio county zote zimejicommit, ni chache zimejicommit kwamba zitatoa 50%. So kama kungelikuwa na jinsi ambavyo national government inaweza kukubali kwamba ibebe hii kitu, waweze kufacilitate CHPs, kwa sababu shida ambayo tumekuwa naye Kenya ni kila mtu analia. Unajua Kenya ni nchi ambayo saizi shule zimefungwa. Ngoja wakati Januari shule zinafunguliwa, waambie rafiki yako mmoja, bwana we, na nataka unipatie 200 nauli ya kwenda kazi. Anakuambia bwana, nimepeleka mtoto shule. Yani shule zimefungwa, hata mwenye hana mtoto anakuambia shule zimefunguliwa. Kwa hivyo ili tusiwaweke our CHPs kwa dilemma, wao wanangoja wapewe kitu, lakini county government wanasema bado bado hatujapata kutoka national government. National government nayo inasema hapana, tunangoja county government ju commit ndio tuweke. So kama serikali inaweza pata mbinu jinsi ya kuweza kuwafacilitate CHPs without necessarily kungojea county government waju commit, itatufaa sana. Lakini kando na hilo, ningependa kuwaomba wa Kenya wajue kwamba wakati mwingi kitu kizuri kina gharama. Na hii jambo ambalo naamini kwamba ni jambo nzuri kwa ajili ya manufaa ya mwananchi wa kawaida la social health insurance cover ni jambo nzuri, tulishabikia, tulisupport. Lakini pia serikali, mimi naomba hili nalisisitiza sana, serikali iweze kuzingatia kuhakikisha kwamba kila mtu anayefanya kazi serikali cover yake ikuwe ya public hospital. Hii private hospital watu wajilipia, lakini ya government wao wakitaka kutibiwa waenda hapo. Twende wote hapo, tutasaidika. Lakini zikuwe ya wanyonge alafu wale wadosi wanaenda private hospitals, tutakuwa hatuna fairness.
Na ni mahali pazuri mtazamaji pa kuweza kumalizia mchakato huu, ikiwa ni saa 3 bado dakika 1. Niseme shukrani sana ndugu Bwana John Wanyungu kwa kuja ndani ya studio zetu, na asante sana ndugu David Alulu kwa kuweza kutafuta wakati na kuja ndani ya studio zetu kuweza kulizungumzia hili. Basi mtazamaji, kufikia hapo sina budi kulikunja jamvi la kipindi hiki hadi Jumanne ijayo wakati sawa na huu, wageni tofauti, mada tofauti. Kwa niaba ya wote ambao wamefanikisha kipindi hiki, wakiwa ni wapiga picha wangu hapa ndani ya studio na waelekezi wangu wote upande wa redio na upande wa runinga, bila kumsahau mwenzangu Cynthia Nyango ambaye leo hii amevalia kiatu chengine, nasema shukrani sana. Lakini kwa sasa mtazamaji, nikupeleke moja kwa moja hadi Radio Taifa tupate taarifa ya habari naye Marion Bosire, na niuregeshe moja kwa moja kule studio zetu tunaziita Studio B, ambapo kipindi Good Morning Kenya kinaendelea kwa sasa. Mimi naitwa Rashid Momkondo na hii ni KBC.
Pindi tunapowasha vifaa vyetu, tunapata fursa ya kutangamana na wasikilizaji wetu.
Karibu sana Veini watafarira ya Ruiga.
Tunapeperusha utangazaji ulobobea katika habari,
Nyodoa mashio na magemaige,
burudani,
ni hali ya tukorogocho kigwe nyimbo mwaki nyimbo hoda,
na hamasisho la kiroho. Usiachwe nyuma. Jiunge nasi kwa safari ya kufana katika 99.5 FM. Soro FM.
One year in office, 23 ministries. Time to review the journey in implementing the bottom-up economic transformation agenda. What is your assessment of the government's performance? Will they ace the performance test? Tune in to KBC News at 9 p.m. for the government scorecard.
Taking NYS to greater heights by re-engineering the institution as a mandatory leadership college. Join us this Wednesday, the 25th of October 2023 at 11 a.m. as the Cabinet Secretary for Public Service, Performance and Delivery, Honorable Moses Kuria, unveils a program geared towards building the future of the youth in Kenya, live on KBC Channel 1 and its affiliate digital platforms.
Dr. Ochilo Ayako was born on 10th of September 1968 and brought up in the present-day Migori County. He joined Homabay Secondary School for his O-levels, and after his advanced levels at Alliance High School, he joined the University of Nairobi to study law. In the run-up to the 1997 general election, Ayako was among the new faces in the National Development Party NDP that was led by Raila Odinga, who had reactivated the party after breaking away from Ford Kenya. He vied for the Rongo parliamentary seat as a fresh law graduate, defeating the then flamboyant, eloquent and wealthy Kanu politician and cabinet minister Dalmas Otieno. NDP would become the most dominant party in Luo Nyanza from 1997 to 2002. With this win, Ayako became one of Raila Odinga's most trusted political lieutenants in the Nyanza region. In 1998, he was among the NDP MPs who voted against a no-confidence motion sponsored by James Orengo that had been moved against the then-President Daniel Arap Moi. Following this, Ayako was part of a select team that was tasked with conducting parliamentary reforms whose objective was to fight for the autonomy of Parliament. It was this team that helped establish the Parliamentary Service Commission and introduced the provision of offices for all MPs. In the 2002 general election, Ochilo was re-elected to Parliament on a NAC ticket and thereafter appointed Minister for Energy in the Kibaki government. His assistant minister was Mwangi Kiunjuri. He served a short stint in the ministry from 2003 to 2004, and in this time he was credited with bringing widespread reforms in the sector, some of which led to international donors and the World Bank restoring their support through the Energy Sector Recovery Project. Ayako was also credited with strengthening the operations of Kenya Electricity Generating Company KenGen after its detachment from Kenya Power Company. He also spearheaded the phasing out of leaded petrol in the country. Despite orchestrating several reforms in the ministry, on 30th June 2004, President Kibaki executed his first major government reshuffle, and Ford People leader Simeon Nyachai was appointed the new Minister for Energy. Ayako was transferred to the less powerful Ministry of Sports, Gender and Culture, where he would last only 1 year before being fired from the cabinet for not supporting the government in the 2005 referendum. In the 1 year at the Sports Ministry, Ayako introduced the sports policy that culminated in the Sports Act and the Gender Policy Act that led to the establishment of the Gender Commission. He was also involved in the successful bid to have the 2011 World Athletics Championships held in Kenya. The 2005 referendum ended his cabinet career after President Kibaki sacked all the ministers who opposed the government-backed draft constitution. In 2007 general election, Ayako lost the Rongo parliamentary seat to his old rival Dalmas Otieno. After the elections, the Kenya-South Sudan Liaison Office seconded Ayako to South Sudan as a legal advisor to President Salva Kiir on legislative and constitutional matters. In the coalition government, Ayako was appointed executive chairman and CEO of the Kenya Nuclear Electricity Board, where he served until 2013. Ayako made a return to elective politics in 2017 when he unsuccessfully vied for the Migori governorship against incumbent Okoth Obado. In 2018, Ayako won in a by-election triggered by the death of Migori Senator Ben Oluoch. In the 2022 general election, Ayako successfully vied for Migori governorship, becoming the governor of Migori County. For the cabinet, I'm Ben Troenjue.
Dr. Josephat Karanja was the second vice president to serve under Moi and the fifth since independence. Before moving his political base to Mathare, Karanja tried vying for the Githunguri parliamentary seat twice without success. At the time, the seat was occupied by Arthur Magugu. The opportunity for Karanja to win a seat in parliament presented itself when the Mathare Member of Parliament went into exile in Sweden. Once he won the election, the way was clear for Moi to appoint him vice president in place of Kibaki. In 1988, President Daniel Arap Moi picked him to replace Mwai Kibaki as vice president of the Republic of Kenya. Karanja occupied the VP position briefly between 1988 and 1989. He was replaced by another university don, Professor George Saitoti. Karanja was an accomplished educationist and diplomat of high standing who had lived abroad. At age 33, he had become the country's first and youngest High Commissioner to Britain, a post he held between 1964 and 1970. Britain was then the most important economic partner of Kenya, its former colony. He then became Vice-Chancellor of the University of Nairobi at age 40, replacing Dr. Arthur Porter. In 1970 to 1979, Dr. Karanja served as the first Vice-Chancellor at the University of Nairobi. Karanja is remembered for his tenure at the university, a period referred to as the heydays of the university, during which black student enrollment increased by large numbers. His liberal and Western inclination opened the university to many changes, including encouraging women to acquire higher education. In 1992, Karanja moved back to his home constituency of Githunguri and won the parliamentary seat. In 1993, Karanja was arrested and arraigned on charges of inciting the public against the government. He died on 28 February 1994 at the age of 63. Jackie Wambiru, The Cabinet. Dr. Josephat Karanja was the second vice president to serve under Moi and the fifth since independence.
Born on 21st July 1935 in Ishamba at the foot of Taita Hills, Eliud Timothy Mwamunga built himself a reputation as an astute politician, adept at navigating the choppy waters of government. His political career began in 1969 after he contested and won the Voi parliamentary seat. 1974, he was re-elected and appointed by President Jomo Kenyatta as the Minister for Water Development. During his 2-year stint in the ministry, Mamunga spearheaded projects that included the construction of the country's first dams, water supply schemes for urban areas, and irrigation schemes that boosted agricultural production. In 1976, Kenyatta switched Mamunga with Gekonyo Kiano, who had been in charge of the Ministry of Commerce and Industry. In 1979 general election, Mamunga recaptured his Voi parliamentary seat in spite of an uneasy relationship with Moi due to his links with ministers and businessmen close to Kenyatta. Mamunga was reappointed to the cabinet as Minister for Information and Broadcasting. In 1983, however, he fell out with President Moi, marking the beginning of his exit from government. In 1988, he was sacked as the Minister for Information and Broadcasting and later dethroned by Adiel Kachila as Voi MP. Many MPs perceived to be anti-Moi lost their seats.
Now this is Health Tuesday right here on Good Morning Kenya, and my name is Vivian Degwa. As I had mentioned earlier on when we were beginning the show, our topic of discussion today on Health Matters is on vaccine preventable diseases. How many vaccine preventable diseases do you know at the moment? And what is a vaccine maybe? And what are some of the vaccines that are in the pipeline, if any? I am joined by Dr. Moses, who is not new to this set, to help me just get into this conversation and get to dissect it further. Dr. Moses, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you to Good Morning. Welcome to Good Morning Kenya.
Thank you for having me, and good morning to all the Kenyans and indeed the world. Yes.
All right. Before we got into the Health Tuesday, my colleague on the other side of the studio in radio was talking about the universal healthcare implementation. Just to pick your brain a little bit before we get into this conversation, what do you think about it?
Universal healthcare is actually a global phenomenon. It's something that the world aspires to. Very few countries, maybe the UK, United Kingdom, have been able to have a comprehensive healthcare service.
Yeah.
I think Obamacare tried with a lot of difficulties. So I think it's a good moment for us as Kenyans to venture into it. I think because health is a right for every Kenyan, according to our own constitution, it is something that is doable. It can be done, but for it to be done, there are many, many things that need to be in place.
Okay.
It's not just about funding. Right now, increasing the healthcare financing through the increase in levies is a good way of raising the money. But how is that money managed? Even what we have been contributing through NHIF, how is it managed? How much of it goes to healthcare vis-a-vis supporting infrastructure? We need more money to buy medicine. We need more money to pay for diagnosis. So there needs to be a restructuring of the organ, whether it's the NHIF or whatever.
Okay.
And then, of course, if you go and visit a facility, a healthcare facility, you need to find people who are qualified, who can manage you. Do we have enough healthcare personnel? We have many doctors not getting jobs, and yet we need them. So there is a whole issue about the healthcare personnel to make sure they are there, because if you are not seen by a qualified person, or if the facility itself does not have the relevant material. Then, but if all those are addressed, it's something that can be done.
Okay.
And we look forward to Kenya implementing, and I hope we become successful.
All right, I hear you on that. Now let's get into our topic of discussion, and we begin by defining what a vaccine is.
Now, a vaccine is a substance we call an antigen. For any disease-causing microorganism, there is that part of it that is responsible for illness. In other words, that part that has ability to cause harm, we call it an antigen. So a vaccine is a part of a disease-causing microorganism, we call an antigen, which has been weakened to remove its ability to cause disease, which means pathogenicity, which is ability to cause disease, but it has retained its ability to be recognized by the body's immune system as danger, so that body immune system now reacts so as to process something we call antibodies, or to make the body ready to fight. So it retains its antigenicity. So a vaccine is a part of a bacteria or a part of a disease-causing pathogen that has no ability to cause disease, it has no pathogenicity, but it retains its ability to be recognized as harmful, so its antigenicity, so that the body now prepares to fight. It's like a force attack. The body has a force attack, and it's now ready, so that in future, when it now encounters the real harm,
be able to fight.
It will be able to fight.
All right. What are some of the preventable or vaccine-preventable diseases that we have at the moment in Kenya?
First of all, let's just classify diseases. We have two broad divisions of diseases. We have what we call communicable diseases. That means diseases that can be passed from one person to another. And these diseases would more likely be caused by a germ. And these germs can range from viruses, bacteria, fungi, and others we call prions. So that's a communicable diseases. Within that level of communicable diseases, we have diseases that can be transmitted. For example, if I came here with a flu, I'll transmit it to you. Or I bring a flu to the house. You know, those are infectious diseases, we call them. And then in that category, we also have diseases that are transmitted by vectors. We call them vector-borne diseases. For example, malaria. Malaria can be transmitted, but I can't transmit it to you. I need a mosquito to bite me. It's a vector-borne disease. And then there are others which may be caused by drinking or eating contaminated foodborne. So those diseases, non-communicable, especially those that are caused by germs. Therefore, we know the germs that cause them. All of them, we can develop a vaccine because we know the cause is a germ. We will need to look at that germ, whether it's a bacteria, and check what is its antigen, and now process the vaccine. And today, we have more than 20 diseases that can be prevented by vaccines. On the other side, we have what we call now non-communicable diseases. These are diseases that cannot be passed from one person to another. We also now call them lifestyle diseases. You know, diseases like diabetes, like high blood pressure, and many kinds of cancers. Those are non-communicable diseases, including diseases like asthma, you know, allergic diseases. So the diseases that we can develop a vaccine for are infectious diseases. They belong to the communicable diseases. And we have more than 20 today. Some of them, thanks to vaccines, we no longer have smallpox. Smallpox was a highly infectious disease. And we used vaccines to eradicate. The last case of polio, of smallpox was in 1977 in a small girl at the tip of Madeira in Kenya. That's the last case, global case of smallpox, 1977. We used vaccines to prevent it. So smallpox is a typical example of a disease that we have eradicated with vaccines. We have another disease we are fighting to eradicate called polio. When I went to school myself, in our days, many people of my generation, you had a classmate or two who have polio. Our children are now going to school, they have no polio case as their classmates. So polio is one of the success factors. We have diseases like measles, that used to kill many kids. We have tetanus, we have rubella, or what we call German measles. We have diseases like rabies. We have diseases like influenza or flu. And flu vaccine, many Kenyans have not taken it up, but it's available. Disease, we have pneumococcal, vaccine against pneumococcal, which is a major cause of pneumonia. We have a vaccine against meningitis, meningococcal meningitis. We have a bacteria called Haemophilus influenza type B. And of course, Kenyans know, and the world know, we have a vaccine against COVID. So we have many, and we are still looking for any disease. If we can find a vaccine, we win the battle. So when we have diseases like HIV, which is an infectious disease, we know that it's caused by a virus. We have been looking for a vaccine. And the day we will discover a vaccine against HIV, we will know we have conquered. We have diseases like TB, tuberculosis. We have had a vaccine called BCG for many years, discovered in 1933. But today, TB is still a problem. So that vaccine is no good. We are looking for a better one to be able to win the war against tuberculosis, and so forth and so forth. So Louis Pasteur, who lived between 1822 and 1895, is one of the pioneers. He's the one who came up with the germ theory of disease. He said, to treat is good, to prevent is better. And in the last 100 years, in the fight against diseases globally, there are two things that are at the front. If you want to fight disease in any community, what is the number one thing you can do? Provide clean drinking water. You will have brought down diseases significantly. What is the second thing? Is vaccine. Not even the discovery of antibiotics like penicillin that changed the world, that has had a major impact. Vaccine is number two, only to clean drinking water.
Okay, I've heard you. And there's something you say that there's a vaccine for TB, but we still have cases of tuberculosis. Same thing with cholera. We have a vaccine for cholera, but we still have outbreaks of cholera every now and again. Maybe what is the reason? And does getting a vaccine mean that you cannot get the disease at all of the vaccine that you've gotten, or does it mean that your body will just be able to fight it off when you get it? Does it mean that once you're vaccinated, you are not prone to getting that particular disease at all, infectious disease?
Very good question. Let's, the germs or the microorganism that cause disease, viruses. Viruses, we have not been very successful in finding antiviral drugs to treat viral diseases. COVID, that's why we had to look for a vaccine. We have not been very successful. We have been very successful in preventing viral diseases with vaccines. So for most viral diseases, or for diseases where we have a vaccine, usually in most of them, when you have been vaccinated, your body develops immunity. For most of the diseases, the immunity is lifelong. the immunity is lifelong. There could be risks here and there. For example, measles. When you have been vaccinated against measles, the immunity is lifelong. That is, if that vaccine has taken. We vaccinate kids in Kenya for measles at the age of 9 months. We need to give a second dose of measles after 1 year. For most developed countries, they give their measles vaccine after 1 year. It's not that the vaccine doesn't work, it's just because when you vaccinate at 9 months, especially if a child is born from a mother who is not malnourished, a mother who has good immunity, by 9 months the child still has maternal antibodies. So the vaccine, you give it, and antibodies and vaccines, they neutralize each other. So as long as we give a measles vaccine after 1 year, and in Kenya we recommend 2 doses, one at 9 months, because they are kids who are born from mothers who are malnourished, and the risk of measles is high. But once the vaccine takes, whether it's measles, whether it's polio, whether it's a yellow fever, whether it's rubella, it's lifelong for most viral diseases. For some diseases, the immunity wanes. It protects you for some time, and then for some reason the antibodies or the immune system begins to wane, and you need to vaccinate again to shoot the immunity higher. And this is, we are seeing this more with bacterial diseases, the vaccines. For example, whooping cough, also called pertussis. We vaccinate our kids against whooping cough, and whooping cough used to be a major killer. But today, we have a very effective vaccine. But we also have found that as you grow older, among the adolescents and the older people, the immunity against whooping cough comes down. And sometimes you'll find this young mother, may get a child. And this child, before they reach the age of 6 weeks, when we give the first dose, we find some children now getting whooping cough in a lower age because the caregiver, the immunity wanes. So now we recommend vaccination against whooping cough in adolescents, in older people, especially caregivers, so that we protect the young child who, after 6 weeks, when they get the pertussis vaccine, they'll be protected. So in summary, for most viral diseases, once you vaccinate, it's life. Sometimes for bacterial diseases, we may need to, there is waning immunity. For example, that waning immunity could be because the protection is waning, therefore you need to give a dose, or it could be the microorganism has mutated. It has changed its structure, and the microorganisms want to survive. For example, the COVID virus, it keeps on changing. The influenza virus, the flu virus, we have a very good vaccine, but that virus is always changing, and we are making, because it's changing, we are keeping up. Every year we are manufacturing a new vaccine against influenza. So we vaccinate annually to protect against influenza. And by the way, influenza, which you call a flu, there's a difference between flu and common cold. Flu itself can be quite invasive. It can lead to pneumonia. It can lead to death of elderly people. It can lead to severe illness in children, very young children. It can be a problem to people who may have an underlying condition like diabetes or whatever. So we vaccinate. So some vaccines we need to give regularly because the bacteria or the virus is mutating, and we need to keep up so that we get the right antigen. And that is why even COVID, even flu, we have to keep checking which is the virus that is circulating. What is its antigen? We now take that and make a vaccine. Then we are able to protect against that particular strain. But generally, most viral vaccines, once you get the vaccine and you have finished the vaccination, lifelong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I see that with many diseases. For example, polio, you get to hear that they're doing repeated doses. Now I think I understand why we always hear that there's a polio vaccination happening. You know, the masses are being influenced or asked to, you know, get their children below a certain age to get the polio case. But I understand that most of us got the polio vaccine at a very young age, you know, at a very young age. But we keep hearing that there are repeated doses. So I think I get why we get to hear that.
We need to clarify that for polio.
Mm-hmm.
Polio, there are 3 types of polio. There is polio type 1, type 2, and type 3.
Mm-hmm.
And polio is a debilitating disease. And we've done a pretty good job globally. Now we are in the phase we call eradication phase. We want to eradicate polio completely. Mm-hmm. Remember, we eradicated smallpox. We no longer need to vaccinate anybody against smallpox because the virus does not exist anymore. Mm-hmm. We kicked it out. We want to kick out polio. Today, when you got your polio jab, polio vaccine, there are 2 types of vaccine for polio. Mm-hmm. There is the oral polio vaccine, and there is the injectable polio vaccine. In our program in Kenya, for many, many years, we used the oral polio vaccine. And the oral polio vaccine is very good. Mm-hmm. It's very effective because when you take it, it goes into the gut, it multiplies there without causing any harm, and you are vaccinated. Some of it will come through the feces. Mm-hmm. And when you're handling the child, you pick a bit of that feces, and it will be circulated in the house, and you'll vaccinate another child that did not get. So we call that contact vaccination. So it's very useful in eradication.
Okay.
But as long as we have some people or who have not been vaccinated, we need to reach a very high level. For example, if we were able to reach 100% vaccination, we would eradicate polio. But there will always be people. Of course, we have neighbors, conflicts in various regions, so there are some countries who are not doing very well. And then for the polio virus, the oral polio, in the feces, some of it will end up now in the sewer lines. And it can be picked by somebody because, you know, contamination and all that. Also now we discovered a phenomenon where some of these vaccine virus now encounters some other bacteria, and for some reason it's able to multiply. And whereas it was a vaccine, then now a vaccine virus, then now it multiplies and acquires ability to invade. So we have something we call vaccine-derived polio. Because we are in the eradication phase, the reason we keep giving all children below 5 years so that we eradicate the virus, what we call the wild polio virus. Sometimes it's not because of that child. That child may be protected. But when you give that, if the child is protected, well and good. But that virus will go and infect others. But for us to fully eradicate polio, and I don't know when Kenya we are going to get into this gear, we will have to switch from oral polio and give kids injectable polio, because injectable polio does not have the capacity to multiply in the environment. And you know, countries like the US, you know, the Western Europe, the North, use oral polio. But as I said, oral polio is very good because it's able to you are able to spread the vaccination to a wider group. But in my opinion, and my opinion is well known for many years, we needed to switch to injectable polio in Kenya because we don't have a lot of wild polio out there. So we need to make sure that we vaccinate as many kids as possible. So the virus for polio, it doesn't change. It doesn't mutate like the influenza. But we want to make sure that even that child who doesn't come for vaccination because maybe they came from a neighboring country and came to Nairobi or they are able to encounter a vaccination and not bring the virus to us. It's a complex topic, but the reason we will vaccinate against influenza every year is because the virus changed. If we are going to continue with COVID, if we have any other wave, we'll vaccinate again because the virus has changed, but there are also other reasons. For BCG, for TB, this vaccine was discovered in 1933. Those days, the measure of efficacy or ability was not as developed as today. It's not very effective. It was useful in preventing what you call the severe form of TB, like TB meningitis, and we continue to give kids for that. But in the face of immunodeficiency, like HIV, we then saw TB come back. And we know BCG is good, prevents the severe forms of the TB, but we know we need a better vaccine.
All right.
Yeah.
And maybe, Doc, just how accessible are vaccines in this country?
Very good question. As we said, there are more than 20 diseases that are vaccine preventable, maybe 23 or 4. I think Kenya, we are doing quite well in terms of preventing vaccine preventable diseases in children. We have more than 9 that are given to our kids every year. Now, what about the others? Of course, the national program, the public sector, the government, or even the donors, they will always do what they are able to do. They will prevent the diseases that cause a major public health issue. For some of them, they are a major problem, but now that is where now individuals come into play. For example, there is a vaccine against meningitis, meningococcal meningitis, which is a disease that doesn't catch very many people, but that person who gets it, whoever they are, and they're important, so that vaccine is available, and it's available in the private sector. Influenza vaccine, flu vaccine has been available in this country, and it arrives here. Here in Kenya, we need to vaccinate people between March, before the rainy season of July. July, we have flu vaccine. We find that from around March, April, we begin to see an increase in flu disease. By the third week of June, we have peak. If you go to certain hospitals where children are admitted, you'll find that you can't find a bed because kids are sick with influenza. Then by mid-August, it comes down. September, it's down. By mid-October, which is where we are now, as we go to the rainy season, you will see another flare-up of flu and flu-like illness up to around December. And then it is down again. So in Kenya, we say the big peak is in July. We need to vaccinate, especially children below 5 years, especially elderly people. Elderly people, during the flu season, they have a lot of complications. People with heart disease, you find a lot of heart attacks during the flu season. People with diabetes. So that vaccine is available. It's not available for public, free of charge, but it's available in the private sector. Those who can afford, they can access. And if you ask me, how affordable it is, if you compare the cost of treatment when you get a disease and the cost of vaccination, vaccines are not only cost effective, but they are cost saving. And what is the value of life? So I would urge, one, for all vaccines, I think there's one vaccine that is available called against cervical cancer for girls at the age of 9 months, 9 years and above, which is available through the government system, but still the uptake is low. Whatever disease that is vaccine preventable and the vaccine is available, you should go for it. There are those that are available in the private sector because, some people prefer to buy toys for their kids. or to keep talking on the phone. If you think about how much money we spend talking on the phone. So you will go to certain hospitals, they will call them private vaccines. There is nothing private. I personally like to prefer to call them baby-friendly vaccines. They are those vaccines. They are not available in public sector. They are very useful. And usually we start in private, then they end up in the public. So if you are concerned about you have 1 or 2 kids or 3 kids, and you want to ensure that they live to their full potential, one of the things you can do, even as you buy them toys, one of the things you can do is you can make sure that working with your pediatrician, you vaccinate them against any disease that is vaccine preventable, and if the vaccine is available.
Okay, Doc, as we wind up with this discussion that I feel like we need more time to get more into it, I would love you to just let us know what vaccines are in the pipeline that we should know about.
Obviously, malaria vaccine has been in the works for many years.
Is it not here yet?
Malaria has been in the works. Currently, we have 2 vaccines now available. Is the newest kid on the block. It's yet to be fully implemented, and it should be implemented. Those vaccines, they are not 100%, but they are very good because malaria, it's a killer disease. We still need to look for better vaccine. We use what we have as we work to make it better into the future. Obviously, there has been a lot of research on HIV. That work is still ongoing. There's a lot of work going on to fight vaccines against various kinds of cancer, where we know the cause of the cancer. There's a lot of research that is ongoing. We have vaccine against dengue. Dengue fever is another disease that is emerging. And there is a vaccine available. It's not yet available here in Kenya, and a lot of work is still going. And anytime you hear a new virus has come around, we have Ebola. We have Ebola vaccines. Now I think we have one which is already approved for Zaire strain of the Ebola. There is work going on to fight the Sudanese strain of Ebola. That work is ongoing, and so on. So there are many projects to find better vaccines, and even the vaccines we have, there is research to look for better ones, like against tuberculosis.
All right. I believe this is a discussion that we should have another time to get into it, because I would love to know how safety and how effective are some of these vaccines. How long does it take to make these vaccines? What goes into making that? We should definitely create time for that. But for now, thank you so much for joining us, and thank you so much for shedding light on this particular topic. This is where we end Good Morning Kenya for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. I have been your host, Vivian Dagwa. Until tomorrow, same time, and please, God willing, goodbye.
Just look at us. We make a really good team, don't we? Cheers.
I came here right after my graduation. This job was a big deal to me. But I totally blew it. And somehow I just feel like this is the best I can do. Like I'm just not good enough for something bigger.
Who says that you aren't? I've read your proposal. I can tell you've got a lot to offer.
Jason, you hear me? Just hang in there.
Jason, just stay with us, okay?
Everything's gonna be fine.
He needs to get some circulation. Just step back.
Okay.
All right, what do we need to do?
Kenya. This is KBC English Service.
Welcome to Beat Time Show, the very best of the 80s and 90s. Be John Korani, JK.
Timeless music hits across the decades.
This is the place to be after you've had a tough day. Here we celebrate love and life.
Don't believe me, just watch.
The sound of KBC English Service.
I'm your host Caroline Wangishi, Carol Gatata Mashero.
My name is Geoffrey Mongai.
News, information and entertainment.